Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Pac-12 Chat Show Live here on the Voice of College Football. I'm Tony Altimore, and I'm here, as always, with our great crew, LBC Trojan, Tim, and Chris. Welcome, guys. We are here tonight, guys, and we're here with a show that we want to talk to you guys about the Pac-12 conference and the games we have this week. So there's a couple ways that you can interact with us, because one of the most fun things about this show is not us, it's you guys. So we're going to go through and talk about the games going on this week. And then we want you guys to call in and tell us what you think. And there's a few different ways you can do that. First and foremost, you can follow the Streamyard link that we'll put in the chat. It's also in the description. And we'd like to bring you guys on and chat. Second, you can participate in our chat. We always have a fun, lively chat going here. The one thing we ask about the chat is that you, everyone, be respectful to anyone else that's on the screen and not really try to overwhelm the discussion too much. And then the last thing you can do is you can always register, get on Twitter and interact with us on Twitter. You see all of our Twitter handles are right there, and we'll respond to you guys and all that. If you want to make sure that you have a question you want asked or whatever, you can do a couple of things for that. You can either do a super chat through YouTube, which is super easy. Just click on the $sign and help support the channel. Or you could do a direct contribution through PayPal or Venmo or one of those. So without further ado, guys, shall we get into this week?
Let's go.
All right. So we've got 4 teams here that have byes. And it's a mid-season, so it's a really opportune time for a bye. And we thought we'd get started by walking through these teams and kind of what they face at the kind of the midway inflection point right now. So let's start with SC, the team of the hour. What do we think we have for the bye, and what are we looking forward to as we get ready for next week?
I'll let the SC guys take care of this one.
Well, USC, the most important thing, going into the break here, their bye week, 6-1, heartbreaking loss on the road. Everything working against them, including refs. Yes, I said it. They still pull out the win, and I say they lost on a 2-point conversion, 1-point loss. The biggest key thing they have to work on is getting healthy. They have to make sure that Jordan Addison. It seemed like both Addison and Gentry had lower leg issues. I believe they were ankles. I'm not sure if they've come out specified what it is. But if they can get healthy, I think they'd be ready for Arizona next week.
Yeah, USC, it was reported Tuesday after practice, Lincoln Riley mentioned that Jordan Addison and the linebacker Eric Gentry were day-to-day. He didn't anticipate them to be, out for the rest of the year. What day-to-day means is pretty much open to discussion. Aren't we all just day-to-day? But USC, they've got time to rest up, as Tim said. Look forward to Arizona. They'll get some guys playing in practice, getting some new looks, getting some reps, and we move forward. And look for the duel in the desert with Arizona. They'll be up to play USC. They always are. It'll be a sold out game. I believe the kickoff's going to be 4 p.m. So we move on. Utah.
All right. And I think you guys hit it on the head. USC needs this week to rest up, get ready. We're hearing reports from the practice that I think have been really, really encouraging about the team being very focused and not being down after the Utah game, and instead very focused on the season ahead. I'll tell you, I was really pleased for USC that they did not fall too far in the rankings. We're going to cover that a little bit more later when we look at some ranking stuff. But I think they're in a prime position, so it's looking pretty good. Now, guys, what about the Utah Utes? They certainly, they had a couple disappointments this season. Started off with that loss to Florida that they should have won. Then they got, kind of taken to the woodshed a little bit by UCLA, although they came back later. Made it a little closer, but then they got that big win over USC. Is this going to be a turnaround point for them, or is this going to be their high point?
Right. Big win for the Utes last week, and it's interesting because they're kind of like that team last year, right? Where they lost a couple games early and everyone kind of forgot about them, and then at the end of the year they do so well that everyone's talking them as like this dark horse playoff team come this year around. And it might be a similar story again. They have the week to get off, and then they have a really interesting game at the Palouse against Washington State. Then if they get through that, then it's Arizona and Stanford at home, 2 games that they should win quite easily. Then a very, very rough road game at Oregon, and then finishing the season at Colorado. So, 3 of those games, Arizona, Stanford, and Colorado, should be, fairly easy wins for this Utes team. And, 2 really big games to see where they end up and whether they have a chance to go to the Pac-12 title game or not.
Yeah, I mean they lost to UCLA by 10. They beat USC by 1. I still think you can bunch those 4 teams: UCLA, USC, Utah, and Oregon, and any one of those 3 teams could play. It's really a hard thing to pick which one of those 4 schools are playing the best at this point. It will be interesting to see if they don't have a letdown game going away at Martin Stadium, because again, just as we know about the Utes, they're not the same team on the road. So let's see if they can keep it going.
Hey, sorry about that. I was just answering a question on the chat. Congratulations to the Utes. I was wrong. And on this show, I'm not afraid, or I don't regret making a decision. And when I'm wrong, I like to point that out and apologize. So congratulations to the Utes. I mentioned that USC would have the kill shot for the Utes. And unfortunately, USC didn't run the ball as much as I expected them to. That wasn't a question that was asked. But credit Kyle Whittingham and that whole staff and the players for producing an incredible win. A lot of guts to go for 2 at home to close out that game. So congrats to the Utes. Enjoy the week off, and we look forward to seeing you Thursday night, a week from tomorrow, up in the Palouse, going against those mighty, mighty Cougs. That should be a great game. And Utah still is a team that is, in my opinion, one of the top 4 in the Pac-12. We'll go over that later tonight. But time for them to heal up and put some wrinkles in for the Cougs, because that's going to be a battle up there in the Palouse. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on Utah. Obviously, that it's good. We'll see what they do with the rest of the season. I mean, it's really going to hinge so much the conference, I think, on what happens with Utah, Oregon, and a couple of their other games. Now, LBC, I understand you had some thoughts on Utah and what your lack of faith in them and what they should be doing to celebrate this week.
Well, yeah, congrats to the Utes. Enjoy this week off. And all the Utes out there, I love Utah. And I'm a craft beer guy. I don't know if many of you guys know that, but I've had time with the family skiing in Bryant Hood, skiing in Park City. And one of my favorite beers is Polygamy Porter. And so Utes, congratulations. Savor the victory. Savor the flavor. Polygamy Porter is a great beer from Wasatch Brewing. And, says it on their 6-pack. Why have just one?
So some of you guys don't know this, but LBC is not just one of our favorite Trojan gurus. He's actually literally a craft beer expert who has years and years of experience in the craft brewery industry. So he is not just, a random fan here talking about what you can tailgate with. But we had a really great idea that LBC had, and we're going to be presenting to you LBC Trojans Pac-12 12-pack. And throughout the coming weeks, you're going to get the best recommendations of LBC Trojans' favorite craft beers from each of the Pac-12 school areas. So starting off with the Utah Utes, this Polygamy Porter stout, the great thing about craft beers is they got a fun name. And this one sounds like it's not only I haven't had it. I stuck to regular cocktails when I was in Salt Lake City last time. But it sounds like a pretty good craft beer and a good way for the Utes to celebrate.
It's a local beer. You're not really going to find it outside the state of Utah. So the Utes, this is their beer. This was your victory at home. It was a blackout. So I went with this beer because it's a porter. It's dark in color. It's got you pour it. It's got a khaki haze, foam on top. You got hints of chocolate, and it's a great fun beer. So congratulations. And the one thing, Tony, is that we get mimicked a lot. The Pac-12, different things, and we don't need to go into that. Everybody knows we're like a little redhead stepchild conference. But one thing that you cannot beat us in is we have the best craft beer cities in our footprint. Denver.
We do.
Portland.
We do.
Seattle, San Francisco, and Southern California. Nobody can touch us. We probably have over 600 craft breweries in those cities. And we'll be rolling out some recommendations for you. I think we have another one lined up a little bit later. I saw somebody in the chat said, I think it was David Knight, Three Floyds. Yes, that is a great brewery, Zombie Dust. I've been there, Muncie, Indiana. Fantastic brewery. I love Three Floyds.
All right. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So, guys, I hope you're looking forward to it. By the way, this is not sponsored. This is LBC Trojans Guru recommendation. So it is not sponsored. But just kind of a fun thing for you guys. So, as you travel throughout the Pac-12 footprint, you got another something to think about. Now, what do you guys think about moving on? The Arizona Wildcats, Wilbur and Wilma. What do we think about their games? They've had some ups and downs. They've certainly had some defensive struggles. They've got USC coming to town. What do we think, guys, about the Wildcats?
Yeah. So, spoiler alert. In lieu of the playoff, the mock playoff, 12-team playoff that's moved shows, we're gonna have a Pac-12 power ranking, and I think that I might have Arizona in it as high as I will have them for the rest of the season. Because after this game, they have, after this bye week, they have SC, Utah, UCLA, Washington State, and Arizona State. It's very possible that Arizona doesn't win another game all year. Hopefully, they spend the entire bye week trying to figure out how to stop the run. Because right now, I'm pretty sure you could put 5 teddy bears on your offensive line, hand the ball off to a turtle, and still gain 100 yards against Arizona's rush defense. I don't have a lot of faith in this team going forward. I think we got excited earlier in the year when they beat San Diego State, and I do think that Fish is doing some good things building that program. But I think there's going to be a really sad, strong wake-up call for the Wildcats for the rest of this year.
Yeah, that would be a shame because there was a lot of, I had a lot of higher expectations for Arizona. They couldn't have gone any worse, right? From where we thought of them last year, but it would be difficult for them if they finish the year with 7 straight losses. And that's really what they are, staring down the barrel. I think they're probably their biggest chance, I believe, for a win is going to be against, they have Washington State at home, and they have also, I believe they have Arizona. I think they have ASU at home as well. But
yeah, it is. It's at home.
It's that's just a murderer's row, right? They got their, they got some wins against, decent teams, right? But when they played anybody really above average, they've lost, and sometimes they've lost dramatically. So Jaden Delora is still a great he's a great quarterback. I love what he did up at Washington State. I thought moving down there would be a great jumpstart for Jed Fish. He's rebuilding with all those great receivers he has down there. But man, that defense is just brutal. So,
yeah, I don't think he's a top 4 quarterback in the league or anything, but I think he is in maybe the top 4 of the most exciting ones to watch play with the way that he plays.
I just mean statistically, yards wise, he's second behind Penix.
Yeah, and he's super fun to watch. I meant that as a compliment. I maybe didn't come out that way, but
well, no. And he's throwing for it's good. 8.3 yards completion. It's not bad. and is throwing 63% completion rate. It's the problem with Delora is, are the interceptions. He's second in the league to Cam Ward in interceptions. That's always been an issue. When you have that kind of a gunslinger attitude and you just try to fit in the small windows and you throw a lot, you're going to have a lot of interceptions. But I still think, if he gets hot, you got to watch out. If your defense isn't up to snuff and you're having a bad game and Jaden Delora gets hot, they have the receivers there to do some damage. But it does look like some tough sledding ahead. What do you think, Rick?
I agree with a lot of what you said, Tim and Chris. Specifically, they need these 2 weeks to figure out how they're going to stop the run. And I think they have nothing to lose. They can look at the schedule and they're going to tell, their fans and their recruits that, they're still trying to become bowl eligible. It's not going to happen. They know it. They got to stop the run. So I think you're going to during this bye week, they're going to find out second team, guys second, third on the depth chart, who's going to step up and who's going to help stop the run. So it's a chance for these guys to get identified, get some playing time, and some of these other guys are banged up. Let's see if they can stop the run, and hopefully USC just runs the ball, right? Just run the ball on them, and they've got to prove it. I expect the game to be close the first half because Arizona always gets up to play USC. Who doesn't? It's going to be sold out, and they're going to give their best shot because they got a bye week. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be close.
Yeah, they're giving up 36 points a game and over 454 yards to the other team each game. So I like your idea about just running it. What
do you think, Tony? You're on mute, Tony.
Thank you. Sorry. I really agree with Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports, who points out that Arizona's improved, but not as much as we thought at the beginning of the season. I love Jed Fish. I think he's doing an incredible job there. He had quite a rebuild, and he's really doing a good job, but it's just not quite as much as we hoped. So let's move on to Wazoo. They, a team really, and we'll see this sort of everybody's predicted power rankings in a little bit that Chris talked about. Definitely a team, I think, right now sitting solidly in a really good position, kind of in the middle of the conference. What do you guys think about Wazoo looking ahead? They got quite a schedule to go.
Yeah, it's interesting because they've kind of beat the teams that you would expect them to beat, and they've kind of lost to the teams that I think are pretty good in Oregon, SC, and Oregon State. The game at home against Utah is going to be really interesting. I mean, I think Utah is a class in that tier, that class of 4 schools or so, that we think is the top echelon, and Washington State's kind of in that middle tier. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of game the Cougs give them, in a couple of weeks. And then after that, they have Stanford, Arizona State, Arizona, and Washington, which are all winnable games. So, the Cougs have a chance to put together a real nice season. And it's going to be interesting down the road, as the rest of the season goes on, how well the Cougs end up doing. I think they might surprise some people nationally by the end of the year. What their overall record is, they don't pay much attention to the team in the little town up in Washington.
Yeah, I said that I was the one that picked the Oregon State upset over Washington State, but actually, Chris, this is your retraction. I'm wrong. Chris also picked it.
Yeah, I was joking.
You gave me a hard time about that. I want to make sure. I want to do it on air. The retraction, yes. But they are solid. They need two wins in order to get bowl eligible, and I think they do that. The one thing is they have the Utes again. They're coming to Martin Stadium, so that's a benefit. But they definitely will get it. They have Stanford, Arizona State, and Arizona. I think those are almost sure wins for this Washington State team. Again, their defense started out really hot. They had all those tackles for loss. I thought they're very opportunistic. They really should have won that Duck game. How much different would their season look right now if they had actually knocked off the Ducks? I mean, if they could walk out the end of the season saying we beat the Ducks and the Huskies, I'm sure that would have outperformed anyone's expectations for this Coug team. So I'm really high on them still. I think that beating Utah is going to be a tough ask. But again, at Martin Stadium, Utes on the road, who knows? Who knows what could happen? What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I agree with what a lot of you guys said. I think Chris laid it out perfectly. This game against Utah is going to tell you which direction this team is going. Because if they can beat the Utes, and as you pointed out, Tim, the Utes are a totally different team on the road. I think 14-12 in their last 26. They're a 500 team. Washington State's fans will be ready. And who knows what the weather's going to be like a week from Thursday night, but it's going to be a rowdy game. Washington State's currently 4-3. If they can win that game and win the next 4, sitting at 8-3, then they get Washington to end the game in the Apple Cup. So you're looking at an 8-4 or 9-3 season possibly, but it all starts with Utah. And it's great that they're going to have an extra few days to prepare, but this is going to be a great game. I see Washington State having a good season. There's a lot of winnable games still on their schedule. They're definitely going to a bowl, but it all is predicated on this next game against Utah. That's going to be another big game in the Pac-12 conference. Tony?
We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. Now, for anybody who's a Coug fan, or actually just anybody who wants to learn more about what it's like to actually run a university, we had something really incredible about 2 weeks ago before the USC Washington State game. We actually had the Chancellor of Washington State, their CEO, sat down and chatted with us. So the link's up there on the screen, or you can just search for it on any of the Voice of College Football channels. It was really, really incredible to have Dr. Chilton come and chat with us about what actually goes into running the athletic department from the CEO's standpoint, and sort of what it was like for her having to hire a new coach and all that. So that was a really cool special thing. And then the next thing, tomorrow night, so Thursday on the 20th, this is going to be really, really incredible. We've got a very, very special edition here for the bye week of USC pregame live with the Trojan himself, Jacobo Herrera. And LBC has set this up. It's going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be live on the Voice of College Football's main channel and the Voice of College Football's USC channel. And it's an opportunity for you guys to actually chat with the Trojan himself, Jacobo. So, guys, you looking forward to that tomorrow?
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to ask him about, again, we heard about the Stanford band. I'm putting that definitely in air quotes, but we're about to hear about one of, if not the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest marching band on the planet. The Trojan marching band is going to have their leader, the drum leader, come and thank you, Rick, for getting this all set up for us and really let us know what's behind all that armor and how it all comes together on game day.
I want to hear what the experience was like at Rice Eccles. He was just there, and how that compared to Corvallis. Two great road games. So looking forward to hearing his comments on that, amongst a lot of other things.
What about you, TBM?
I don't know if I appreciate the band as much as you guys do, but I think that it's something to look forward to. It'll be a great interview.
It is tough because those UCLA high school uniforms you guys have, it is a bit distracting to see which one's better. I'm not sure.
Oh, Tim, you had to go there.
I'm trying to be nice. I just
Yeah,
hear the same Star Wars song over and over again.
Let me throw something out there about both the USC and UCLA band. Is that as much as they talk smack back and forth to each other, I was watching some clips today. I don't know if you guys know this. Just a couple months ago, we had the USC and UCLA bands together opening the season at the Hollywood Bowl with the LA Philharmonic, John Williams conducting, and Gwen Stefani singing Hollaback Girl. And that's kind of awesome. And I got to be honest, you don't get that at Iowa State. So whether you want to be on the Trojan side or the Bruin side, let's just have a moment to pause and think about how cool it is that, yeah, you got them live with Gwen and John Williams opening the Hollywood Bowl. Pretty sweet. All right, let's move on. So, guys, our first game of the week that we're going to talk about, which is going to be pretty cool here, is UNLV Notre Dame. So Notre Dame has been promoted, guys. Colorado won Arizona State won. They're no longer our dumpster fires. USC rival, sort of honorary half Pac-12 team Notre Dame is officially our Pac-12 dumpster fire. What is going on in South Bend?
Yeah, how about those trees, huh? Oh my goodness. As to this game itself, like the transitive property is kind of silly, but they do have a common opponent in Cal. Cal beat UNLV, I think 20-14 at home, and Notre Dame beat Cal 24-7 at their place. The spread is interestingly like 25 or something, and I don't know, like. I think that Notre Dame wins. I think it's silly to like compare those two scores against Cal and think that this is going to be some kind of close game because of it. But I don't know that it's going to be this like 4-touchdown game that people that think it is. Although I mean, UNLV is not good. But I don't know what to think of Notre Dame. And the most interesting thing is, if they had it humming a little bit more, I would almost say like, oh yeah, UNLV might cover because Notre Dame's looking ahead, because they're at Syracuse after this, and then they're home versus Clemson. But the way things are going right now, I don't think they have the opportunity to, I don't think this is the kind of team that's going to look past someone, because they're going to want to get their wins. So I mean, that said, I still think they handle it by 3 touchdowns, but I don't know if it's 4.
Yeah, it's like what, 26.5?
Is it now? I saw 25, but yeah.
25. When you lose to San Jose State by 33, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility to say that Notre Dame.
I know that we think
on a neutral field.
I know that we don't think very highly of Auburn, not to talk about teams in other conferences that I don't care about, but that San Jose State team was in that game with Auburn for like 3 quarters.
Yeah, Auburn. Yeah, they have.
But I get your point. No, I agree. UNLV is not good.
They're not good. They lost a Haynerless. Is that a word? Let me look that up.
Yeah, it should be a word. It should be a word.
If it's not, yeah.
A Haynerless Fresno State team, albeit a touchdown 17-10. I don't know. I do think that we forget about how much. I know there's a lot of talent still and a lot of pride on that Notre Dame team. They often also play well in these neutral site games, usually because they have someone like UNLV. But I think that they have too much in that front seven still. I do think a lot of their defense still. I can't remember who it was. I wish I could give them credit. But some of the funniest comment, they basically talked about the fact that even in the win, that they won in like a losing fashion, as far as winning that game. I mean, basically Notre Dame fumbled that ball away right at the end. Otherwise they win that game against Stanford. I don't want to take anything away from Stanford. The game's played the way it is, but I think that Notre Dame is going to win this game quite handling. I think a little bit better than you believe, Chris.
I don't know if I'm qualified to pick Notre Dame games. I've missed more than I thought I would have. I mean, Stanford beats Notre Dame in Notre Dame. They lost to Marshall. So they're 3-3. And in addition to enjoying college football craft beer, I like rock and roll and I like blues. And so where we're at right now, there was a song by Robert Johnson called Crossroad Blues. And that's what Notre Dame has right now. And that's what Jack Swarbrick, who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. So I'm going to recite some key lyrics from that song and modify it a little bit, because
even better.
I can tell you stats, but it doesn't mean anything, because the only person that really knows who's going to win this game is Jesus. It's touchdown Jesus. But Jack, I'm thinking of you, brother. I went to the crossroad, fell down on my knees. I went to the crossroad, fell down on my knees. Ask the Lord above, have mercy now. Save poor Jack, if you please. Jack is questioning his decision. There's a lot of alumni, donors, fans of Notre Dame. Did he make the right decision hiring Marcus Freeman in a very short amount of time? Hey, we won't find out, but you know who knows? The devil at the crossroads, and we're going to find out.
I love it. All right, guys, I cannot top that.
With that said, hey, you got to take Notre Dame. You got to take Notre Dame against UNLV, because if they lose to UNLV, good night.
Good night is right. Well, hey, we felt a little bad for Marcus Freeman, and we here on our Pac-12 show, we did not want him to burn in the dumpster fire alone. And so, yeah, is that the leprechaun, or is that friend of the show Will ND? I think it might be right there with Marcus Freeman, friend of the show Will ND. We are wishing you the best. We hope you guys can extinguish the dumpster fire, get a good win over UNLV, and let's move the dumpster fire next week to somebody else. All right, next up to bat, guys. We've got another interesting game, Oregon State, Colorado. Now, everybody, I think, thought that this would just be an easy walk in the park, but how about those Buffs? They turned around and won their first game. They did what we thought was unthinkable, won their first game last week. Now they're going to Reeser and they're going to play Oregon State. Is there any chance Colorado keeps this win streak alive?
So congrats to the Buffs for getting a win. As a secondary Cal fan, it was quite sad to see what happened there, but good for them. And rushing the field was hilarious, and props to them as well for getting as many fans as they have, given what the products on the field has been this year. That joy ends very quickly as the 10-win dream for the Beavers continues, and the Beavs take care of business big time in Corvallis.
Yeah, I'm still very high on the Beavs. Again, they showed us what they can do, especially at home against the Cougars. Colorado, again, awesome. I think they got a little fire, right? That bounce of the new coach when Carl Durrell wasn't there. We know they have athletes, at Colorado, and they showed up in that game. It's just the problem is I just know you get that little bounce, that sense of adrenaline. How much of that win was Colorado as opposed to kind of what's going on right now at Cal? I think that Oregon State is going to absolutely obliterate Cal. I'm just gonna say it. They're gonna win handily. I'm sorry to say that, but they should win this one. I really, again, at the start of the season, talking about Johnson Smith and what he's building there in year 5, gave USC everything they could handle, beat the Cougs. They are a very, very solid team, and anyone that's still sleeping on what they're building up there in Corvallis does really need to refocus and pay attention.
Yeah, Colorado, congratulations. You won a game. You won your first game, and you won your last game of the year. It was Parents' Weekend. There's a lot of joy there. They had the juice going. They were feeling great about themselves. They had the crowd behind them. It's the interim coach, Mike Sanford, journeyman. He's been everywhere. And, hey, they won one for the coach. They had the perfect opponent. Cal is just offensively challenged. They couldn't even run the ball against Colorado. So they're going to go to Reeser, and it's going to be a totally different team. They are not going to be able to compete with Oregon State. Oregon State's a very good team and very solid. And I see just Colorado losing in big fashion.
Now, LBC, they had a big win. What should they be doing to celebrate that win? Do you have a recommendation?
Fans, I want you to celebrate. I want you to celebrate in great fashion. One of my favorite breweries in Longmont, Colorado, next to Estes Park, north of Boulder, Dale's Pale Ale. You can't go wrong with Dale's Pale Ale. It's in the can. It's only brewed in the can or the keg. Pack it in, pack it out. I'm an IPA guy, but I'll tell you what, Dale's Pale Ale tastes like an IPA. This beer is sessionable. It's crushable. It's great. Enjoying college football. So, hey, Buffs fans, treat yourself to a great beer from Colorado, Dale's Pale Ale.
All right, so there you guys have your second of this season's LBC Trojans Pac-12 12-pack. You've got Oscar Blues, Dale's Pale Ale. So when you're in Boulder tailgating at Folsom Field, LBC says that is the craft beer to go for.
And that game up in Reeser might be a 12-pack game, so make sure you get 12.
Make sure you get 12. You're going to need it. You might want to get a 24-pack. Or just go straight for the vodka. We'll see. All right, guys. Another game. We had a shocker. 2 weeks ago, Arizona State under their new interim coach. Phenomenal guy, legendary in the Arizona State high school community. Went to ASU as an assistant, took over as their interim coach when Herm Edwards got fired. Got him to the win. Now they're going up against Stanford, who got a miraculous win of their own. We thought these two teams might basically be winless just about, and here they are, both coming off some big games. Guys, who keeps that win streak alive? Is it going to be the Devils or the Cardinal?
So I have a quick piece of trivia for the rest of you. Can anyone tell me the last time this season Stanford's given up less than 150 yards rushing? Oregon had 351, so it's not Oregon.
The Colgate probably even had more than that, didn't they?
It is. That's a trick question. They haven't done it all year. So I am not going to get fooled by the smirk of David Shaw and that win in Notre Dame. Stanford is still who we think they are. And I think this ASU team, again, early season loss to Eastern Michigan, which was not good, but other losses to Oklahoma State, Utah, and USC. And, coming off the bye here, I think that the Sun Devils pick up their first road win on a path to scaring the heck out of me when UCLA goes out to the desert. Because I think the Sun Devils will be 4-4 come that time, and be just good enough to put a little Pac-12 madness, craziness, fear in my heart when we go out there. So I'm taking ASU something like 30-24 over the trees.
You know what? I completely agree with you. With Emory Jones as well. I just don't. They got a big bounce, right? And they beat the Washington team. That was at home. But we all know when you go to Stanford, you go to Stanford Stadium, it's almost like a home game anyway as well, because they got 8 people in the stands. So I really like what you said there. As far as Stanford, I think that Stanford, are they like 4-point favorites, something like that? I can't remember.
2.5 when I saw, but who knows? I might have moved. But yeah, they are favorites.
I'm absolutely not buying Stanford at all. I am going, and here's the thing: you make it hard for me, Chris. 'Cause I need to make up some points on you.
Trust me, there's a game coming up where you will be on the other side.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm also going with ASU. I just see there's too many athletes on that team, and I didn't think they get to win.
Yeah, I'm looking that way as well. I think ASU had the bye week. This is a game that's winnable. They know it. Again, going to Stanford, it's not a big deal for ASU. They've got a good running game with the transfer from Wyoming, and they've got some decent pieces on offense with Emory Jones. And I see it being a close game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I have ASU winning this one 24-20.
Now, guys, I've been torn in this one because I think they're both bad. But I do believe in David Shaw as a good coach. But I think Arizona State has a lot better team. So Arizona State has had 2 weeks to get ready for this, is I think a big difference. Whereas Stanford is coming off that high of that big Notre Dame game. And I think that ASU, with that time to get ready, pulls one off. And I'm giving it to Sparky to burn down the farm, as somebody said in the chat.
Tony, you know, with Valade and Emory Jones, you want to take a look again at that Stanford rush defense before you make that bet?
I just said I'm taking Sparky.
Huh?
I just said I'm taking Arizona State.
Oh God, I thought you took. Okay, thank God.
I said I'm taking Sparky to burn down the farm.
Okay.
You know what's going to happen? We all picked ASU. That means Stanford's going to win.
That means Stanford's going to win.
When that happens,
right now, if you're in Vegas, put all your money on Stanford because we all think Arizona State's going to win. As you guys will see in a little bit, when we all have unity, that's the time to bet the other way, which is very Pac-12. And again, any Stanford fans, if you haven't seen, we got a really fun chat with the Stanford tree on the Voice of College Football channel. So definitely take a look at that. Get a chance. You got the link up there. You can search for it. It's also on the USC channel. It's really, really easy to get to. So take a look at that, guys. I think you'd find really fascinating stuff about Stanford. And, I basically dare anybody to watch that and not come out at least kind of grinning that Stanford's kind of a cool place. Now, hold on. We got a special super chat here from David Knight. David says, Pac-12's been getting hoagie slapped the last few years, but I think they've acquitted themselves. It's a shame USC and UCLA are leaving. Should Colorado start recruiting Compton again, a la Bill McCartney? David Knight, I'll tell you, if they could rally the spirit of Coach McCartney, I am not opposed to saying new Heisel 2.0 in Colorado. What do you guys think? How do we get Colorado back in gear for David?
You're talking about Jerry? Jerry's...
Well, I was saying
Jerry's about 10 or 15 years away. Yeah, bring Rick
I was thinking Rick 2.0. But it could be Jerry as well. Just, some new Heisel spirit there in Colorado again. What do you guys think? Who can save Colorado?
I have no clue. None.
And they don't seem to be able to, when they do get a solid coach promise, they don't seem to be able to retain them. And then they pull these crazy hires out that everyone leaves them shaking their heads. So I really don't know where they're going. It's too hard to figure out.
It really is.
I was going to say, do they have someone that can give them money so the next time they have someone like Mel Tucker, who, I mean, things aren't going as great for Michigan State right now as they thought they would, but
there was hope.
But if you're Colorado and he starts building, right, hopefully you can find the money next time if you do get the guy to be able to keep him around.
David Greenshield makes a suggestion here. Friend of the show, Joel Klatt. I'll tell you, David, I said that before that they should make Joel Klatt their football czar. Just have him. He doesn't have to run it day to day. Just tell them to do whatever needs to be done. He's the man there. And we had a couple other great comments about Stanford. It really is, really, really. It's an incredible place with really great people. Their football team's having a lot of struggles. So another real interesting game, guys, here. Two teams that we also don't know what at all to make of. Washington, who we were real high on earlier in the season, has come up with some mixed results. Cal, who we were real low on, has also come up with some mixed results. Who's going to come out on top there in Berkeley?
So, Tim, here's your chance to make up a point. All right. maybe not, but maybe you'll surprise me. But so if you want some some schedule talk after Cal loses to Colorado and how they have to play Oregon, SC, and Oregon State after this, you're not going to get it from me. And if you want analysis about how the offensive line has huge issues and can't do anything unless it's playing an Arizona team that's terrible defending the run, then you're not going to get it from me. But if you want a completely unjustifiable, unreasoned, ridiculous take that this is the Pac-12 and crazy things happen, then I'm going to tell you that Cal wins 24-23. Go Bears.
Wow. Now you got me down myself, Chris, because you are 17-5, and I got to pick up 3 on you. I'm gonna take, and here's why. I was gonna pick the Washington, but now you say that made me doubt it. But I just don't see it. I think Penix. I think there's just a little too much offense. Cal, I'm just not sold on their. I'm not sold on their offense at all. I'm having a hard time seeing how they're going to keep up scoring wise in this game. I like Jaden Ott, I really do, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Washington on the road.
Yeah, Cal doesn't know who they are, and they don't believe in their offense either. They just hired Steve Greathouse as an analyst. Steve Greathouse, I think it was said that was Coach Wilcox's offensive line coach way back in the day. So when you have Greathouse coming in, they're trying to find their offense. I love the gutty little Bears to the north. I think they're a great story. They love playing Memorial Stadium, but I can't take Cal. This is a game that Washington has to win and move forward to become one of the better teams finishing off in the Pac-12. They can't lose to Cal. They won't lose to Cal. I have Washington winning 34-20.
Yeah, LBC, I agree with you. I've been high on Washington. I also love the campus. I love the people up there. I have a lot of friends that went to UW. It's a really incredible place with really, really great people. I think Jen Cohen and Kalen DeBoer are really building something great there. I think we maybe got a little excited about them earlier, but I think that they're for real. And I don't really know what's going on in Berkeley. I also think that like Hosky looks a little too much like a sex offender for my taste. So he in his car to get Hosky in his car to get Chris is a good defender of Hosky. But I think Dubs takes this win, and the Huskies beat Cal pretty solidly. So we'll see what happens. All right. So without further ado, gentlemen, ladies, people of the chat, we've got the Pac-12's game of the year so far. We've got number 11 UCLA at number 12 Oregon. Lots and lots of questions abound about this game. Is Bo Nix for real? Has Oregon healed from that walloping at Georgia? Is UCLA for real? Chip Kelly's going back. He's taking his best Bruin team ever, and game day is going to be there. Josh Pate, king of the SEC, is going to be Pac-12 Pate for a week. Guys, what is going to go down in Austin? It's going to be the game of the day on Fox.
So, given that's the game of the day, and you just talked about Joel Klatt real quick, I wish we had him and Gus calling this game, but we don't. It's not an exaggeration to say this is like UCLA's biggest game in decades. Tony, I think you're probably going to make the point later, and I apologize if I steal some of your thunder here.
Go for it.
But UCLA is 4-8 when ranked in the top 10 this century. There is a bit of a history of getting to this point, you know, maybe being at this point for a little bit and then failing. So there's a little bit of that. The Oregon State offensive line has 4 redshirt seniors, and they're very, very good at running the ball. They're first in the Pac-12 stat-wise and 10th in the nation. And I think they've only given up like 1 or 0 sacks. Tim, I know you think that we have like a pretty good pass rush with Latu and whatnot, but Bo Nix really does do a very good job of getting the ball out quick. He's like much improved. That being said, I still think that like the way that we have to stop them, or not stop them, but somewhat contain them, is that we do have to stop that rush offense, or at least slow it down to the point where we make Bo Nix beat us. And Bo Nix might beat us. He's been playing very, very well, but I think the best chance of winning is to make Bo Nix beat us. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for on the UCLA side of things. I think another point kind of going against this, I think I read that UCLA hasn't won in Autzen since 2004. It's obviously a tough place to play. But that being said, I don't know that Oregon can necessarily stop us either. Their run defense is probably their best spot, and they've bottled up Charbonnet before. They did it last year. They held him quite a bit. But the pass defense for Oregon has had some issues, and we're talking about a UCLA offense that's 5th in the country in points per drive and 5th in the country in yards per play, and 2nd in gaining of available yards. And we can talk about what that stat means if people don't know. 2nd in the country only to Ohio State. So I think it's kind of have a bit of a shootout on our hands. But I'm gonna take the Bruins 34-31 to pull it off in Autzen, because while the dream's still alive, I'm gonna be dreaming, and we're gonna win. And DTR is one step closer to his trip to New York. Go Bruins!
Okay, now you're making this tough for me.
Actually, I just got scolded, by the way, by Mikey G. You're right. They're both higher ranked now. Sorry, guys.
You threw me a curveball there. Actually, that whole setup, I thought you were going to go. Surprisingly, I thought you were going to go with the Ducks, because we all remember the Olsen twins, but the Bruins have the Nelson twins, and they have Latu, who's, if you guys haven't heard about this guy, he was a Washington player, great pass rusher, had a neck injury, couldn't get cleared with the Huskies, moves down to UCLA, and was just absolutely tearing it up. The one thing about Bo Nix this year is, I don't think, because we all knew this, we all knew the Ducks would have an amazing offensive line, right? A very big veteran offensive line. And he hasn't been challenged that much. And usually you're going to have issues. That the story with Bo Nix is if you get that pressure on him. And the good thing is that this game's at Autzen. And the fact that it's at Autzen is really why I'm leaning away. If this game was at the Rose Bowl, I would be picking UCLA. I do believe in DTR. I like to tease Chris all the time. What is he, 29 now? How old is DTR?
He's like 22. He's not as old as that kid from Tennessee. He's not like that kid from Tennessee, or like 3/4 of BYU's team.
I'm just checking, because I swear he's been there for a better part of a decade, it seems like now. But he is amazing, and I think they're going to give the Ducks everything they can handle. I think this comes down to a field goal game. But I do believe, because of Austin, because of that amazing game day atmosphere they have there, having game day there, the fans are gonna be pumped up extra special for this one. I think that, and because I have to get some points back on you, I'm gonna go with the Ducks by a field goal.
Well, I have to apologize to you, Chris, because I was been one of the many that has disparaged DTR in the past. I haven't given him his due, and he is going to be the difference in this game. This is going to be an excellent game, because it's at Autzen, and the Oregon fans, they love their Ducks. They're loud, they're obnoxious, they're neon, they're nouveau riche, they're hairy. Those are Ducks. They're hairy and they're scary, man. They're hairy and they're scary, and they think they have this game in the bag. They do, because they got Bo Nix. Hey, and Bo Nix is playing better. But I'll tell you what, I'm not going to give you the stats here, because you can throw the stats out the window. It's going to be kind of like the SC Utah game, right? But you're going to have DTR is going to be the difference maker. Can he produce without turning the ball over? This kid is special, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's cocky. And he expects to go in there and shut everybody up. And shutting up 55,000 Ducks fans, that's a huge accomplishment. He is going to be in the Heisman running after this game. That's all there is to it. He's going to exploit the running game between him and Charbonnet, going to keep him off balance. And that secondary is going to be tested by Oregon. And DTR is going to be money in this game. I have UCLA winning 37-35.
And okay, jump in really quick, Tony, before you go. I take umbrage, Tony, to you saying that this is so far the Pac-12 game of the year. That game was played last week. This is going to be a good one, but it will not. The numbers, the glitz, look, we've got Mickey Mouse coming to town to go see Donald. I mean, we have all that going on, but that game last week, this game is not going to touch that game. I'll tell you that right now.
Wow. Yeah.
The 9 a.m. toga. The 9 a.m. toga party in Eugene's not doing it for you?
First of all, his name's Puddles. I'll show some respect to Puddles. I'll tell you guys, I don't know what to make of this game, and I'll tell you why. I think the stage is set for UCLA. I think they got a great team. I think they're ready for this. I think they're ready to ascend back to where they need to be. I mean, Kevin Warren believes in them. I think that they have a great team. I think they can do it. I believe in DTR. I think he's fantastic. I think that their I think Bobo's awesome. I think their defense is strong. I think this is a great everything set for them to win. I am not that as sold on Oregon. I think they have some holes. Their defense looks porous. They gave up a ton of points to Washington State. But here's the thing. Since I was a freshman, UCLA has never failed to win when I wanted them to lose, well, in generally, and they have never, ever, ever won when I wanted them to. This is a team that when I need them to win for my basketball pools, loses. When I wanted them to win in football games, they lose. When I started to tell everybody they're really great and they beat LSU and last year and I get right on that UCLA bandwagon train and I talk about them, they go and lose to Fresno. So I just, in this game when it matters, this is like, the ex that cheated on you 5 times and you're like, no, this time it's for real. I just can't give him my pick. I want them to win. I'll cheer if they do. I'll do an 8 clap. I'll go UCLA, fight with everybody else. But I don't think they're going to win. So I think Bo Nix is gonna have a really impressive career day, and I think he's gonna do some really great things. And I think Oregon comes away with the win, even though I'll be cheering for UCLA. So good luck, Bruins. Also to our friends from the Ducks, good luck, Ducks. But I just, as Chris said, they're 4-8. Yeah, they're just in my mind they're 0 and all of the times I've wanted them to win.
The meme on UCLA boards is always in this situation. I think I've brought it up once before. Is Lucy pulling away the football as Charlie Brown tries to kick it?
Yeah,
and this time we're kicking.
It's a great meme for them.
This time we're kicking the field. This time we're kicking the ball and we're winning by a field goal.
All right, I believe in you. I want to believe in you. I'm giving UCLA my UCLA fight right there for you guys.
Did you just 8 clap? Oh my God, Tony, we have to talk after the show.
Okay, I know they're going to send me to therapy. I get it. I didn't do the 8 claps. I just did the end. There you go. I can't do a full 8 clap. All right, so guys, you've heard our picks. So what does that mean? How are we doing? And I believe we have a math dispute. So I'm going to leave that to Tim and LBC to settle. But how have we done so far? The truth is, not that well. Don't take us to Vegas with you. But our updated calculations per LBC are Chris in first place once again at 17-5 over the past few weeks. And then the other 3 of us tied, although I understand we have a math debate.
Rick, I'll let you fill this one in.
Well, hey, I reviewed the weeks 4 through 6, added week 7. My math appears to be correct. You questioned it last week. I expect your response. Where did I goof? Please let me know.
Wait, real quick before you guys argue about it, can we sit here and appreciate the numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
What a great score 13-9 is.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's why we have to get on the ball. Who did I pick, Rick, in the Oregon Wazoo game?
Again, you're free to go ahead and, that's on you. I reviewed everything. I'm sure that, you can go back and look at the tape. And if I made an error, please point that out.
Yeah, I had Oregon. You had me down for Washington State.
Okay. I'll have to go review that, but I believe I wrote down what I saw and what I heard.
Sorry, guys. My computer went crazy there for just a minute.
Yeah, so technically, actually, I'm in second place. We'll have that reviewed for you guys next week.
All right. I am not sitting and watching 20 hours of the shows or whatever, so when you guys come up with a correctly audited financial statements, let me know there.
Here's what I think we should do. You know what? Go ahead and snip a clip of that, save a clip, put it on your Twitter, showing that you, in fact, did you say take Oregon over Wazoo? What was it?
Correct. Actually, I didn't even make a pick because my mic was cut, and then Chris went. I didn't actually make a pick. I wasn't allowed to make my pick in that game.
Okay, maybe. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm figuring we've given Tony 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins for when he hasn't picked. I think we'd go that way.
What are you talking about? I pick them all. I picked them all. In fact, I usually pick losers as we've seen. So
it looks like we're all tied for second.
All right. Now, what's going to get real interesting, guys, is this is something pretty cool. Now, before we do our power rankings here, we want to put a link in the chat because we want to know what you guys think. And we'd love for you guys to join us in just a few minutes. And I'm putting the chat right in the link right in the chat. And we want to know what you guys think about this game. We want to talk to you guys. So if you want to call and join the show, but real quick first, we got together, we did a Pac-12 power rank, and everybody submitted them independently. But I'll tell you, I thought it was really, really interesting. Everybody aligned into 4 groups. So first of all, starting at the bottom, we were unanimous. The bottom of the Pac-12, the bottom of the power rank, Colorado, all the way across the board. Any surprises?
None.
All right. Next, which was really funny, the next 4 teams. Now, some of you guys don't know this. The Pac-12 teams are all grouped in geographical pairs. Makes scheduling pretty amazing. But the next group were San Francisco and Arizona together, making up that bottom of the approachable tier. And of that, we had a little debate here in the Territorial Cup, guys. Rick and I are leaning Wildcats. Tim and Chris think ASU is ascendant. What do you guys think? Early preview of the Territorial Cup. What are we going to see?
I think by the end of the year, I'm going to have Arizona at 11.
Ouch. Rick, do we think that we have more faith in the Wildcats than that?
I believe that game's at Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to be a feel-good game for Arizona. They'll take down ASU.
All right. So next up there, filling in the bottom of there, you can take a look. Anything of note in here, guys, or is this just kind of the bottom feeders?
We don't need to spend any time.
All right. So what's kind of crazy then is next in the 5 to 7 slots, we all kind of had some disagreements about the Pacific Northwest and who was on top. I continued my Husky supporting, and everybody else is on the Beavs train. And Washington State, kind of settle in there 6 and 7. What do you guys think? Any early thoughts on Washington and OSU?
I'm keeping the dream of the 10-win season for the Beavs alive until it doesn't happen.
So you believe in the Beavs?
I got to have them number 5 until it doesn't happen. But I think the Apple Cup is the real interesting game of that group. But I mean, they're all interesting. They still have.
I'm totally on the Beavs. I think they're a very special team, and they'll beat Washington. And Washington State is hosting the Apple Cup, so that's going to be a great game between Washington and Washington State. But all those Pacific Northwest teams, pretty solid this year.
Yeah, I actually have Washington above Wazoo, but again, I think Oregon State is the team to beat in that group. Oregon State, just until I see otherwise, they just seem like the most complete team to me.
And I want to share something because a lot of things happen and change in college football. Last weekend, it was kind of separation Saturday, I like to call it. You find out who the contenders are and who the pretenders are. And that really didn't happen a lot in college football as much as I thought it would. I mean, we saw in other conferences, Tennessee, Alabama, you saw a close game with Utah and USC, even, down in Texas, TCU and Oklahoma State. That was a close game. I believe that was double overtime. You did have Michigan just dominate Penn State, but, Penn State was questionable going in there because of James Franklin, frankly. And he proved that he still can't beat a legitimate team. And he basically just let everybody know in the rest of the country that the Big Ten, the 14 teams of the Big Ten, it's really only 2. It's only Ohio State and Michigan. We all knew that, and now it was just proved on national TV. But if you look here, we were talking, guys, back after the third week of the season that, UCLA was like number 7 because the Pacific Northwest was 11-1, the only loss being Oregon down at Georgia. But and then you had USC and Utah. But UCLA was looked to be 7th. A month later, let's see what happened. Let's see where we have UCLA. But they are definitely in the top 4. So
we see where they're at?
That's it.
All right, guys, looking at the number ones. I want to believe in UCLA, but they've let me down too many times. You guys have UCLA right now, all number 1 in the power rankings. Are we at all nervous, guys? Are we drinking that light blue Kool-Aid?
I think it's important to kind of point out, right, that this is like the idea of who do you think would win on a neutral field, right? And there's totally instances, and I think this is true later on, so the Utah people don't get mad. There are instances where a team, you might think there's instances where a team that's not as good as the other team wins. And I'm not saying that if Oregon wins this weekend, I'm not saying that they're not better than us. I think that's a silly thing to say. But I'm saying in the power rankings in general, right, there are instances we all have Cal over Colorado, even though Colorado beat Cal. So on some of these, I think you might have some things, but it's more of like a body of work and who do you think at a neutral field would win the game.
My only issue, and the only issue I have UCLA at number 1 right now, is I need to see more from USC's run defense. I think USC has, I'm sorry, but much better athletes on both sides of the ball than UCLA. And I think both teams are thin, but I believe UCLA is actually thinner. But what I've seen them do, even though it was at home, they beat Utah. And how many points did Utah score on you guys, Chris? You remember offhand?
A lot. I think it was less than us, though.
Off the top of my head, I have to look it up, but I can find out for you in about 5 seconds. They scored
34.
You do 32, and 7 of those was the pick 6 at the end of the game by Clark Phillips. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, I think the defense gave up less than 30 points, and I really do. I don't. This is definitely going to change. It's just in this week right now, what I've seen from all the teams on a neutral field, I'm just liking the Bruins a little bit better at this point.
Let's look at what we can do to fill.
It's truly painful.
Shall we fill in the rest?
Please.
All right. So, again, we're talking about this is power ranking. So this is where they would be on a neutral field, where we think they'd be. And, I think UCLA beat Utah. I think, well, you guys heard my opinion on whether Utah won or the referees won. But yeah, so I've got SC at 2. Rick's got SC at 4. Tim at 2. Chris at 3. But again, I think it was kind of crazy here as we're all really aligned on these groups.
I think the top 4 are all very similar, and any of them can beat the other one on a random Saturday. I think some of them are obviously there's a ranking to them, and but the gaps are not huge, and they're all very similar in that they all have really great offenses, and the questions on defense are different for some of these teams, but they all have questions on defense, and I think the top 4. Especially going into this last half of the season, what plays out. I mean, and the great thing is that so UCLA and Oregon play this weekend, and SC and Utah already played each other, but USC still plays UCLA, and Oregon still plays Utah, and there's going to be some hopefully great games to figure out the final pecking order, and I think that's really exciting. And then the Beavs are going to sneak up on everyone.
I just think that here, Oregon's pass defense looks horrible. USC's rush defense has looked really bad. UCLA's secondary isn't exactly world beaters, but just overall, that's what I'm saying. They're all great offenses. With Utah, I just don't know which Utah is going to show up. And again, I'm maybe I'm being unfair, but it just seems like Utah on a neutral field. I'm gonna give just I mean by a hair's difference, those three above them.
All right, it's going to be interesting. Well, guys, we've got some guests that want to chat Pac-12 football.
Oh,
Shall
wait.
we?
One last thing.
Go ahead.
So last week we had two big winners. We had Utah and Colorado. You could have put Stanford in there as well, but we chose those two. And what I'm going to do is we're going to pick two big winners this week between the games. We got UCLA, Oregon, ASU, and Stanford, CU and Oregon State, and Washington and Cal. Will even throw in Notre Dame and UNLV. But you guys, I want you guys to interact with us. Hit me up on my Twitter at LBC Trojan. Let me know which are the two biggest Pac-12 victories. And also, when you do that, let me know what you think is your favorite beer from that region, if you have one or you don't. And then we'll get two more beers from those markets to celebrate those teams. And, check me out on Twitter, and love to hear your suggestions, and I'll provide you mine, obviously. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
LBC, we're looking forward to it. All right, guys, let's welcome Jay Copenhagen. Jay, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, man. Big time Beaver fan. We got a lot of, pain that we're dealing with right now. We have a backup quarterback playing, and I kind of want your thoughts on what you guys thought about our blue chip before he got hurt. Do you guys actually think he has what it takes? I think he has a lot of the fundamentals, but I don't know if he can really pull through, say, the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback situation at Oregon State, even when you have the top guy, it's not DTR, it's not Nix, it's not it's not Caleb Williams, it's not Rising, but that's like some rarefied air in my opinion. I think that those four guys are all playing, exceptionally great football. So, to be and I think that's a huge reason why those teams are having the years that they're having. But that doesn't mean that Oregon State isn't built to have what I would think is a very successful season the rest of the way. And I don't think that there are games that are more winnable than and there's games that are less winnable, but I don't think there's anything on the schedule, and Oregon fans might get kind of upset to me with this, but I don't think there's a game on the schedule where it's 100% Oregon State's losing that game. You have some pieces that I think, I have a lot of respect for that Beaver team, and I have all year. Connor can in chat can acknowledge that. But the two guys you have at corner, there's a lot of talent, and Jonathan Smith does a hell of a job. And if there's a coach in the conference that's going to figure it out, I think it is him. But the quarterback, you're right in that the quarterback situation is an issue.
Well, and Cole Branson, yeah, if you're gonna be a young quarterback, I can't imagine, next to I'm just gonna say it, Lincoln Riley, having Jonathan Smith as your coach, bringing you along. His numbers are fairly close. I was just looking at him right now. 60, he's playing 60% of his passes, right? Nolan was at 59.5. I think that you guys seem very similar, actually, your offense. I don't think do you feel your team's dropped off that much, not having Chance Nolan back there? Because Chance Nolan, the issue with Chance Nolan, it just seemed like he was throwing a lot of interceptions. Well, Branson's not exactly error-free himself, but it does. I don't know. I'll admit I haven't watched every single minute of every game, but I have watched a lot of. I've been a Beaver believer all year. You've heard me on here, so I've been watching them play. I'm a big Jonathan Smith fan, so I'm curious. I'll throw it back to you. What do you think? Do you see a big drop off bringing in the young guy?
Yeah, honestly, I think right now Chance Nolan probably wants 4 back. I know 2 of them would get us that win over USC, and the other 2 would really give us a good fight in Utah. And, you know, he's probably having a hard time sleeping at night, especially since he got put out that game. I think that if his decision-making process was a little bit better, he really could be clicking. I think he's got his foot in the door. Do I think he's as good as the rest of the pack? No, I don't think he'd be playing at Oregon State if he was, but that's why we love him. That's why we love Jonathan Smith. That's why we are the underdogs. That's why we are the giant killers. We don't want number 1. We want number 3, and he's going to be playing better than number 1 when you come to our town. That's kind of why we all love, you know, the backup quarterback as much as we like the starter. Probably my favorite Oregon State quarterback was Cody Vaz, because he won against Arizona State on a Thursday night, and it was probably the best night of my life. So, you know,
sure,
I think we have a lot of quarterback history, and I hope that we can continue it. I just think that he needs to be sung in the same song that our old quarterbacks used to be, against some of the greatest in the Pac-12. So I just think that Chance needs someone out there singing a song about how good he is, and I think we all see it.
Yeah, but Jay, I'll tell you this. You know what? If you guys had JT Daniels, you say you don't want the number 1. If you had JT Daniels behind center, you guys might be competing for the Pac-12 championship right now. So I like it. And again, I agree. I really love Jonathan Smith. But in today's football, you really do. If you want to go for a conference championship, you need to have a difference maker, I believe, as a signal caller.
Yeah, I mean, difference makers is what kind of separates the teams in the Pac-12 right now. And that has a lot to do with scheme and how things are changing away from pro style. I'm a pro style fan. You know, I love that style of football, but it's kind of, you know, it's not as prominent as it used to be, and it's harder to play at college level. But, you know, these kids, they're getting faster every year, and they're getting better every year, and it just makes it really difficult. I think that we got a good structure here. I think that compared to the Gary Anderson years, it's a lot of positivity, especially with the alma mater factor. As a Beaver fan, I think I can say it for all Beavers out there. We're extremely excited to just be able to watch and be happy about it. And it was really painful the last couple of years, and now we're all smiles. So I'm okay with just getting bowl eligible, but I like 10-2, to be honest.
And I mean, what I was really worried about at the beginning of the year was that your offensive line, just like there would be, I just thought they were going to maul for the running game. And Fenwick, that, you know, big back, you know, Martinez seems to me like he's actually might be the better running back. What's your take on that?
Oh, 100%. I think with the running backs, it has a lot to do about opportunity. If you watch when Martinez got that really big break run touchdown, I mean, that was because of blocking. We're really good with our offensive line, but when they knock it out of the park, you know, any running back can run behind them. I think Fenwick, when he's in, the defense that is on the other side of the line recognizes that he's probably the best guy in our stable if he gets the blocks. And so they eliminate that opportunity, typically, the defensive coordinator of the team. And I think Venwin gets the raw end of the deal. I kind of feel that used to happen when we had stars in the past, you know, from Jaquiz and on in the history of running backs. I feel that we've had that problem before, you know.
Yeah, I believe in the Beavers. I'll tell you, I really think Jonathan Smith has done an absolutely phenomenal job. He knew that was a rebuild, and he knew what he was doing. But I mean, this is a guy who was raised up through the system of Dennis Erickson, who was taught coaching at the, you know, as a mentee of Chris Peterson. I mean, he's been all over, and he brings the skills that they need, and he loves being back in Corvallis. He talks about it. He and Dave Aranda are two of the people that I think that people don't appreciate how much they love being where they are. And, you know, I think he can keep doing it. And I mean, they've got new stadiums half of the stadium's beautiful. The other half's about to be beautiful. And, you know, I hope he keeps building them into a great power.
I like this. They're a very special team. Sorry. I like this team. And a lot of it, like you'd mentioned, it's Jonathan Smith. They find a way to win. They're tough on defense, got a great offensive line. I like Jam Griffin. He's a special back. And yeah, sure, the quarterback issue is a question mark, but I like this game against Colorado. I think Gulbranson's going to get a little bit more comfortable I think they're going to put a number on Colorado. They're going to gain some confidence. Maybe Chance Nolan gets in there as well. But because they want to give Washington the next week up in Seattle a different look. That is going to be a huge game. They're going to get their confidence winning this game after beating Stanford on the road, beating Washington State, now beating Colorado, sitting at 6-2. And that Washington game is going to be a pivotal game. And Oregon State's defense is going to be key. It's going to be key in that game. I see them winning that game. And then they can roll to 9-2 until they host Oregon. And that'll be a heck of a game. And maybe you get to your 10-2, I don't know. But I see you guys at 9-2, and anything can happen in that Civil War. But I think you guys are going to go on and beat Washington. You're going to find a way because it's a team. It's and you got Coletto, who's the wild card, got solid defense, and I think that's what's going to take down Washington. So, good luck to your Beavs.
Good luck to your Beavs.
I'm glad you guys mentioned Coletto. I'm actually live in Vancouver area. That he's a local guy up here. We really are proud of our local kids. I mean, that's a guy who deserves a trophy. I think he's in second place for I can't remember the name of the trophy but right now that they're running for a well-rounded football player. But that guy can play any position. When you watch that game and he plays from defense to special teams and all across the board, it's just absolutely spectacular to watch. We're really lucky to have a player that talented on our team. Thank you for mentioning his name. He deserved it.
He was a quarterback coming up, right?
Picture too. He's our player for the picture there.
He was a quarterback coming up, right? Can we put him behind center for half? I was gonna say, can we put him behind center for half the snaps or something and see what happens?
He's won my heart. That's for sure. Yeah. He's a football player.
Great guy too.
Oh yeah, and he's incredibly intelligent. He ended up taking rocket science just because he just wants to know about it. I mean, the guy's brilliant. And here in the Southwest Washington region, he's a legend. We have a large Indian casino where a lot of people and fans that don't get to go to the stadium go and watch the game at, and it's just every time he has the ball, the whole place is yelling the hammer louder than you ever heard anyone cheer for an individual player in this state. So it's absolutely awesome to have a guy repping the area as well as playing that well. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. That is great. I love Oregon State. I hope they keep doing it.
Well, and I think you guys, Jay, you guys going into the Civil War, you guys, I think you guys actually match up very well with Oregon this year. I think people were sleeping on your guys' defense. Like I think it was Rick talked about your corner. Oh no, it was it's Chris talking about your corners. You guys could try to make them one-dimensional, and your guys' run defense isn't anything to sniff at. So I
don't
really
tell anybody about our corners because they don't know yet. They don't know we're that good yet. So just keep that quiet, all right? Don't tell them about number 3. He's just offspring of some great athlete. Don't tell them who it was. Austin, who knows who that guy is? No one knows because we like being the underdog. We've always been that team. We're never going to change that. Like you were suggesting before, if we had a great quarterback, a real blue chip, yeah, you're right. We probably would be a powerhouse, but I don't know if we would enjoy it as much as we enjoy being the team that's supposed to lose and just give you a straight licking. That's what we're about. You come to Corvallis, you better be ready to play.
Yeah. I think USC fans know that.
I know
they know that.
There is not a
some of the most respectful fans with the terrible band that plays too much.
But going back to that Civil War, here's the thing: you don't need to worry about no matter who's your quarterback, no matter if it's Branson or Nolan. Don't worry, you won't throw any interceptions because, Oregon secondary. There you go. So you'll be good.
Yeah. You'll find. I always laugh, Jay, because among USC fans, you'll hear no smack talked about Corvallis ever. They're like,
I've been to the Coliseum and I've watched our team just get laid out there, and they had every opportunity to rub it in my face. And I will say this about Trojan fans: they're respectful people, and every single person in the stadium I was expecting to kind of get hosed on, and they were awesome fans. And honestly, all the Pac-12 schools are awesome fans. You can't really take that away from us. But that's what it's like being in the Pac-12. We have fun places to go and great beers to drink. So, come come over to Corvallis, drink some beer sometime, guys. And we really like the fact that you're singing praises in the right way for us out here on the internet. Beavers don't get talked about a lot. So thank you for mentioning it.
Hey, we like talking about. Hold on, before you go, real quick though, as a Corvallis person, give us your early prediction of who LBC's craft beer of Corvallis is going to be.
Oh, it's obviously going to be Flat Tail beer. He likes porters, and they have rotating porters all the time, but Flat Tail's got to be the place. I mean, Flat Tail is number one, but there's a lot of good breweries in Corvallis. Most of the good breweries in Eugene are Oregon State grads, but don't tell them that.
we won't tell them.
Hop Valley is probably my favorite beer, and it's out of Eugene, and they're Oregon State grads. So.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't. I mean, Oregon State has a very, very famous ag program, so I think they do like beer stuff there, don't they?
Yeah, we do cheese, food, veterinarian, forestry. My father and all of my history of my family are engineers and really big engineer school. So we do, all the infrastructure guys are up there, So that's why we have fun doing construction, like building Reeser. I actually got the opportunity to do a little bit of work down there, so really cool stuff.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Jay, thanks for calling in the show. We hope you'll join us next week. We'd love to have you.
I will, absolutely. If nothing else, to listen into all the good stuff. Just keep doing you guys. I love seeing how your show grows. I only just started this year, but I tune in every week now. So thanks so much, guys.
Thanks Jay. Take care. Good luck.
Go Beavs. Go UCLA.
All right, guys. Bringing in next, we got a couple of folks coming in. We'll get to everybody real quick. But because he's actually in the fire, we've got Will ND joining us here. Will, you're in the dumpster fire right now.
Yes, we are. The Buffs hopped out. We hopped right back in for them.
You did, and I assume you've seen this earlier on the show. We've got Will ND in the dumpster fire. How do we get Notre Dame out of the dumpster fire? And most importantly, how do they get on track for USC?
Listen, bless his heart, Tommy Rees, but I feel like he just doesn't know what he's doing. He's starting to blame the players for what's going on, which is like just a sign of a guy we need to get rid of. So we need to turn a new page in the history of Notre Dame offensive coordinators and hire a new one.
All right. They're probably not going to be able to do that by the time they come to the Coliseum, though.
No, so who knows? The thing is, though, last year we changed up the offense a bit and ran a bit of tempo, and it worked. Like that first half against Oklahoma State, the offense looks good. And I don't know if it's because of how the second half of that game went that he turned back into the slow, boring style that is just painful. Like the first half was like getting your teeth pulled without painkiller. That's how hard that first half was to watch against the Cardinal. So
like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Will, you saw Stanford.
We're never going to come to Oregon State College. You're welcome to call anytime. What's the beer for us?
Hold on one second. We got, hold on. What's going on there? Will, real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, that was the computer Streamyard is being kind of strange there. Will, you saw Stanford. Does Stanford have a chance to win this week? What do you think about Stanford having?
Wait, I just got here. Who they got?
They've got
Arizona State.
Arizona State. That's right.
Ooh, interesting game.
The tree and Sparky.
Now, what I like about I'm going to give Stanford credit. Obviously, this is the Pac-12 show, so it totally should. When we took the lead on them last year in the farm, they absolutely quit. And this year, they have a little fight in them. So, I don't know. Like, Arizona State, like, their offense looks good against SC. So, like, they're not a complete dumpster fire, unlike like we are right now. So, I do think that the Sun Devils will pull it out. But I don't know if the spread is, but I think they can maybe cover.
Stanford's favored by 2.5.
Wait, the line Stanford 2.5?
Yep.
Okay, no. Then I feel like it will be one score game, but I just don't have that much trust in Stanford. because they only scored. They didn't score that many against us, so I just don't know if they can keep up with Arizona State.
We didn't have a lot of faith in them either. Well,
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up to bat, Will, you want to stick around with us for a few minutes?
Sure.
All right. Next up to bat, guys, and everybody else in the chat, we'll get to you guys in just a sec. We've got David Greenshield. David, welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, excellent. Love the Pac-12 talk. Really excited about the game of the year in the Pac-12. This Oregon, UCLA tilt. Had some
What are your
luck.
thoughts on it?
Well, I've had some luck on betting should I bet the over in this one? I've had some luck on betting the over in Pac-12 games this year with the excellent quarterback play out there. Although I took a look at the line, I think 72 might be a little bit rich for my blood in that one. I got to be honest with you. Maybe if it was more in the mid 60s, I might be more apt to see it. Right now, I think DTR is the best quarterback right now. If I was ranking the best quarterbacks, I would rank him as the best quarterback in the conference. As I said the other night, I'm not the biggest Bo Nix fan in the world. Looking at the quarterback matchup here, just for the simple fact, and I know he's playing better now that he's in Oregon, but geez, maybe I just had these flashbacks to when he was playing in Auburn and we saw erratic Bo Nix all the time. The only thing that makes me sway maybe to favoring Oregon in this game is that they're at home. That's the one thing that I'm thinking of, because I like DTR. I like Charbonnet. The DTR Charbonnet combination has given me a Cade McNown, Deshaun Foster kind of feel, guys.
Yeah.
I was trying to pull out an old school reference there for our UCLA fans.
I like it.
It is about the last time we were this good, so.
Yes. Although I think Chip Kelly's a slightly better coach than Bob Toledo, so I think you're in better shape there, my friend.
Yeah, that's very true.
But I like the running back quarterback combination. The only thing, and I think Oregon's a solid team, and they've played better since the beatdown against Georgia. It's a one possession or less game. I'm going to lean Oregon, but I've got no conviction on this one. I don't know what you guys think. Will, what do you think?
I'm also leaning on Oregon just because, I don't know. I feel like Oregon, they've done it before. They've won a big game. They've won in Ohio Stadium. Many of these players have. And, I feel like Autzen Stadium is a bit of an Ohio Stadium itself with the atmosphere it has there. I haven't been there, but, on the TV, it sounds louder than most stadiums. And Eric and Ben also, can attest, so... And I don't know, I don't trust this. That's one thing that scares the crap out of me is that Bo Nix always had one terrible game with Auburn, just one game where he's absolutely terrible. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he got that out of the system with the Georgia loss. I don't know if that was his one bad game, but I'm definitely leaning. I don't know. I'm leaning the Ducks because of the home environment for sure, and they have the talented roster.
Yeah,
here's something you have to factor.
Go ahead.
Here's something you have to factor in that I'm surprised nobody's actually talked about yet, but hey, I'll jump in the referees. Are we going to have acceptable referees?
I'm going to promise you right now that no matter what happens in this game, I will not complain about the referees, and it certainly will not go into Wednesday of the next week after we lose.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you what.
Those are fighting words.
That's a shot.
Referees are like
That's a shot. Shots fired.
Like Forrest Gump. It's a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get, And now if the A-team, the Pac-12 A-team was at the USC Utah game with Klyavkov in the luxury suites or up in the press box on national TV, I hate to see what the F team looks like. The sixth team with the Pac-12, but this is a real issue because if you've watched Pac-12 football, David, out here, it's like they want to throw the flag on the air of caution, knowing that the replay is going to review it because it's like safety first to the nth degree here, and I'm sorry, but you've seen everything on Twitter where Bryce Young got brutalized. And it was basically roughing the passer, targeting, and no flag was thrown. That's just another tough hit in the SEC. In the Pac-12, not so much. And I'd hate for it to happen, but hey, man, get your popcorn ready because you don't know what you're going to get.
Speaking of not knowing what we're going to get, so we have two quarterbacks here that have been much maligned in the past for their decision making, but we've seen both these guys make huge strides. You know, DTR being in his 5th year, making that progression, made a huge jump last year and a big jump this year. And then you also have Bo Nix, who's done the same thing in his new setting, done really well. So I think it might come down to which one of these guys show up for each team. And I think the quarterback play is going to decide this one because it is such a close game. I agree with you, Will, and David, that this is going to come down to the atmosphere at this point because you have two great teams going up against each other. But it might come down to which one of these guys is going to be the hero or which one of these guys delivers, you know, at the end of the game. You know, it might be one where there's a shootout and they're both going at each other, or might be, does one of these guys return to some of their maybe not so great past? So we'll see how it goes.
Is it fair to say that I think UCLA has the better quarterback, but does Oregon have the better roster overall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like from like a pure talent perspective. Like
that was like the main
undoubtedly
point for me in this game.
Yeah.
Depth, everything.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that I like UCLA that much better at the quarterback position, but I'm thinking that the overall roster, that's the other thing that probably will tilt it to me to be a slightly close game. I know you guys want to see an undefeated UCLA team, you Trojan fans do, but yeah, I think this one's a close one, and I'm tilting the Ducks.
That's what I was thinking too.
By the way, I want to comment on your power rankings, by the way. I will say this. In reference to that last game between Utah and USC last week, and I saw some of the questionable officiating in that game and the way it ended, I would still have USC rated ahead of Utah. And I picked Utah at the beginning of the year to make the playoff. I want to say that. Well,
the key here is on a neutral field, right? We lost by 1 when and that we're talking about Austin for all good reason. Austin is just a crazy environment. But I think over the past at least 4 or 5 years, I'd rather go into Austin than go into the Muss and go into Rice Eccles, because that place is just next level. And what USC went up against last week compared to how they performed at Reser earlier this season on the road, you know, you could see the big difference, the jump up. So I think you get USC on a neutral field. And again, I think I don't remember who said here on the panel, but this is a coin toss between all 4 of these games.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
I literally think all 4 of those can beat each other.
And I think that's a testament, really, to how good the Pac-12 is this year. We hear even now, everyone jumped off the Pac-12 ship, you know, just like rats off of sinking ship as soon as there are a couple losses here or there. But the fact of the matter is you could probably go 5 deep here, and even maybe 6, 7 deep for solid teams. But you look at those top 5 teams. I mean it. Short of the SEC, I'm putting those guys up against any of the other conferences.
And Tim, just backing up what you were saying, we actually have here Josh Pate's model, which, you know, is a very sophisticated gambling model. And look at his power rankings of the whole country, and you see, you know, real impressive. You got SC at 8, Utah at 9. You know, UCLA, Oregon at 13, UCLA at 15. That's, you know, very much on a neutral field, the way that his model makes it out. But, you know, it backs that up. And David, it backs up what you were saying.
Yeah. Well, I think that the Pac and then the Big 12 have been Big 12's been even slightly better than I thought it would be right now. And, you know, here's the thing. I mean, in Clemson, if they stub their toe, I know that there's not a lot of maybe positive vibe about getting a 1-loss Pac-12 champion in the playoff for fear of what might possibly happen. But, I mean, I take a 1-loss Pac-12 champion in a minute over a 1-loss Clemson ACC champion if Clemson does stub their toe. I mean, is that fair?
Yeah, I think it depends on who that loss is, too. You know, that, you know, that because the thing about Clemson is that Clemson is very much there. They used to back in the old days joke about, with Pac-10 was, USC and the 9 dwarfs. And I think that's kind of what the ACC is right now. It's really Clemson and the 13 dwarfs.
What do you guys think about possibly if the Ducks win out? Do you think they could get in over 1-loss Clemson, even though that one loss at the beginning of the year was so embarrassing to the Dogs?
But here's the thing on that first loss. You're talking about not only was it the first game of the year traveling to a de facto, home game, right? But beyond that, you have a situation where you have 2 new coordinators, a new quarter. I mean, it's all new. And then you have the defending national champions probably hitting on all cylinders, knowing exactly what they're going to do. They replaced a lot of people. They replaced a lot of people with a lot of 5-star guys. So, I mean, I think that while you have to look at that game 1 that Oregon had, which was an absolute clunker, if you put them on the field again, it's not going to be the same outcome. What the score is going to be, who knows, right? Are they going to beat Georgia? Probably not, but they're not going to get blown out the doors off again like they did on a young team. A young meaning they're fresh and they have 2 new systems coming in, brand new head coach, first time for him, by the way, your head coach's first game. I think that you have to make some concessions for that.
But a 1-loss Trojan should definitely get in over a 1-loss Clemson.
Well, the 1 loss for USC is, if there's ever such a good thing as a good loss, I think it is a good loss. It's up against a very quality opponent on the road, some questionable calls, and they had to go for 2. How often do you see the home team go for 2, right? So that tells you something right there as well.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I was just real quick. I just want to say, though, too, I mean, if you guys, beat, an undefeated or even 1-loss UCLA team, and then maybe Oregon championship. Well, if Oregon beats UCLA and maybe, beat Oregon in the championship game, there's a couple of nice feathers in the cap there that I don't see Clemson having.
Yeah, no, I don't see 5 teams. I don't see, well, let's not pretend like the ACA doesn't have any good teams, right? But
Wake Forest and NC State.
Look at the resume to go through. That'd be a lot if UCLA, Oregon, or USC run that, or even Utah. I was counting Utah right now. I mean, they're not going to be going to the playoffs, but they're a really good team. So
and I think there's a lot of football left to happen. I think you're right, Tim. Though there's a lot of good teams.
I'm curious, David. Before you go, you talked.
Yeah.
We joke about you sometimes about your Big Ten kind of I'll call it homerism. But so where would you put
in a good way?
Well, I'm sorry, it's the area of the country I live in, so it's kind of what I know, gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Hey, we get it all the time. That's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
Where do you put USC, UCLA, Oregon? If you want to throw Utah in there as well, where would you rank them in the Big Ten?
Well, I think that they would all be in the 3rd spot. I definitely think Michigan and Ohio State are ahead of those teams. So yeah, I think they would all be, in the 3rd position. I guess I would have. Are you saying? Well, I would have to rank all 4 of those teams. Let's say in order. Do you want me to go ahead and do that?
You're putting those 2 first, right? Where would you see any other teams in the Big Ten jumping above that group of 3 and 4? Currently,
with the way Penn State looks last week, absolutely not. I mean, they have a lot of deficiencies, and I wasn't over. I picked Michigan to win that game fairly comfortably by 2 scores, so I was really confident in that pick. So, and I look at the rest of the Big Ten. Illinois isn't bad, but I actually think Purdue could still win that division. So
would you place any of those above? So I got you with the Ohio State and the Michigan.
Right.
You put any other Big Ten above? Let's just say the big 3 right now. Sorry, Utah fans. You guys got 2 losses. UCLA, USC, and Oregon. Do you put any Big Ten team above them after your big 2?
As of right now, no.
Appreciate that. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like it.
By the way, I as I said last week, the sooner we get USC into the Big Ten West, I think we can really.
Better.
Yeah.
Oh, don't sleep on UCLA.
No, I think that Chip's finally got his quarterback and has a good offense. It'll be interesting to see if they close out with a really strong year, if he can build on this success.
Yeah,
though.
we're gonna have to do a lot in the portal and a lot in fixing up this class to actually getting some depth after, not necessarily next year, but the year after that. Things kind of on the roster drop off a cliff, so to speak. So I'm just kind of enjoying the ride right now, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
And I agree. Yeah.
But who knows if we do pop off and do something great, like whatever that ends up being, if we can actually fix the deficiencies we've had in those areas, then yeah, who knows.
Well, I think
all right. Well, thank
the
you.
Coaching too, and the Pac-12 is also at a solid level right now. I don't know if you guys feel that way too, but
It's getting a lot better. That's for sure. And David, this, that the Pac-12, since the last years, 12 changed 7 of the coaches, I think, in 2 years. So
yeah.
Well, David, for joining. Really,
Yeah, I agree. Let's give Chip Kelly a long extension, maybe a 10-year extension. What do you guys think? 10-year extension for Chip. I got that from Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com. They do a Pac-12 show, and he's always messing with David Woods, the UCLA guy, say that he wants that big long extension, just like the Bruins wanted for Clay Helton. So let's do it. Let's get Chip going.
Yeah, ask our good friend Tony that covers the. By the way, he hasn't been on yet, or have you guys had him on?
No, we need to have him on sometime. Tony Siracusa.
Yeah, Siracusa.
Yeah, he'd be great. That'd be fun. We'll have to get him on. Well, hey, David, thank you so much for joining. We appreciate it.
Yeah, take care,
hey,
guys.
good luck to your Buckeyes this week.
Thank
We'll
you.
see ya.
Hey, David. Hey, getting back
All
to
right.
the
Next up.
I was just saying, getting back to the ACC, there was discussion about their depth, and I don't know if you could really put NC State in there anymore without Devin Leary. So they're a totally different
I don't
team.
think so.
I think you could put Wake in there with UCLA and maybe
You can definitely put
Oregon,
Wake in
but
there.
besides that, there's a significant drop off after Wake.
You know what, though, guys? I don't think we put anything from the state of North Carolina in there.
Well,
All I said
I
was
don't know.
one-
I'm a Dave Clawson fan. I don't know. I am a Dave Clawson fan, but
I'm just saying
All
it's
right.
not just. It's not like you have just.
But-
I'm saying I don't want to call Clemson, the and give the dwarf category to all the other ones. They have some solid teams.
All right. But there is one very good thing from the state of North Carolina, and that is friend of the show, Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports, who's joining us. So that is something from North Carolina that we love having in the Pac-12. Jeffrey, welcome to the show. What do you think about the games this week?
Thank you. I think it's really interesting about UCLA, and I want to hear y'all's take on this. But I think, like I told Mark last night, and I think you guys were both watching when I was on, but I think that UCLA is the last chance for the Pac-12. More than likely, they have to beat Oregon and beat USC, unfortunately for you guys, and win out for the Pac-12 to have a team in the playoff, because if they lose to Oregon, then you're going to have all these teams at the top with one loss, and I just think that they're all going to cannibalize themselves and they're going to lose to each other, and then I just don't think that I don't think any of them are going to make the playoff, even though I know that's not the most important thing, because obviously the Pac-12 has improved, but like you were talking about how the top 4 teams are very similar, I think that's going to hurt the Pac-12 again to make the playoff, because Michigan and Ohio State are way above the rest of the teams in the Big Ten, so they're probably going to easily make it, whereas the Pac-12 teams are very similar at the top.
Well, I think you're only going to get one Big Ten team in. Whoever wins between Ohio State and Michigan, that's the team that's going to go on and get a playoff bid. If Michigan loses that game, hypothetically they finish 11-1, they're not going to get in. There's going to definitely be 2 SEC teams. You could have Clemson, or you could have somebody from the Pac-12, because you're going to have, if you have a 12-1 Pac-12 champion, I think there's a very good chance they get in, even with one loss.
I agree, and really quickly, I just want to soak in the fact that it's week 8 of the college football season, and we're using the word playoff in UCLA in the same sentence. unironically. And I'm just going to sit here and soak that in.
Chris, are you sitting down right now?
Yes.
Okay. Let me give you a dish here. All right. If UCLA finishes 12-1 and wins the Pac-12, and they have to put, in the beauty contest, you and Michigan is going to be told sit down, okay? Because they're going to look at their out-of-conference schedule, 3 group of 5s. Who did they really beat? They had
I'll just tell them that they canceled on us, so they
They canceled on you. That's right.
Exactly.
The most cowardly move in football for the year.
Here you go. It's like you could
have before the year, but close enough. Still this year.
You could have controlled your own destiny, but you did not. And so you're going to suffer the consequences, Michigan, because you had one game all year, your last game at the end of the year, and you blew it. Not to say that's going to happen, but if Michigan finds itself in that position, they have no argument. They're out. It'll be one Big Ten team, 2 SEC teams, and then it's the beauty contest for that third team, that fourth team. And the Pac-12 has its rep, but the rep is totally changed. And those that are not, actually acknowledging it, and there are sports writers that are figuring it out now. Finally, we're getting some love from Stuart Mandel, Josh Pate. They're seeing it and they're understanding it. They can't ignore it. All right. So it could be between Michigan and Clemson. And right now, we can just talk about it right now. Name me the top 4 teams in the ACC. Clemson, I would say probably Wake, Syracuse, and who's number 4? You could throw in NC State, Pitt, heaven forbid North Carolina, but that's what you have. Okay, maybe Florida State. But Florida State's, I think, 4-3? So then you're going to go about conference schedule, quality wins. But Clemson has that rep, but it's not the rep. It's this year. What have you done this year? That's going to be the interesting argument. I'll give it to UCLA in that situation if they are 12-1 and Pac-12 champions. There you go, Chris.
I appreciate that. I'm also thinking that's a dream, and I'm not even gonna. I mean, I said that, very, very happily of soaking it in, because as Tony has already alluded to earlier in the broadcast, that can all come crashing down very quickly. Sure. So, again, I really am picking us to win. I'm excited, but I do also just kind of want to enjoy the season and see what happens. And I don't think that us losing to Oregon or anything all of a sudden makes this oh gosh, the world is over. I'm stoked on this team regardless of what happens. I hope that we win. Obviously, I'll be disappointed if we lose, but I do want to kind of say that win or lose, it's been a hell of a ride, and it's going to be a hell of a ride, win or lose afterward, for the rest of the year.
And I want to echo. I mean, Tim just pointed this out in the chat. Pointing out that, and Tim and I agree on this very completely. Going to the Rose Bowl and having an amazing game and a win and all that is better than going to the Peach Bowl and getting steamrolled by Georgia. As Oregon showed. Oregon already did that. Oregon literally already went to the Peach Bowl and got steamrolled by Georgia.
I mean, there's always the chance, though. There's always the chance that, Boise State beat Oklahoma that one year. No one thought Boise State could beat Oklahoma. So, no one would think that USC could beat Georgia. But, hey, maybe USC can beat Georgia.
I don't know about a win, but I guarantee more than 3 points.
They will. Tim's right.
I would love to go to Georgia and watch us lose by 30. I would be in the stands. It would be amazing.
Anyway, sorry about that, Jeffrey. We drifted off subject.
Wait, Chris, hold on, really quickly, Chris. I don't think you want to listen. You have a good team right now. It's been a long time for that Rose Bowl win. Was it 84, Rick, or 86?
86.
86. I say you take that win and get that monkey off your back.
If that's the consolation prize, sure. I would, yeah. Oh, no, we won the Rose Bowl. No, that would obviously be a great year also.
Hey,
all right.
Lionel Richie just called. He wants 1986 back.
All right, sorry about that, Jeffrey. What else have you got?
You're good. I was just saying again that the Pac-12 is much improved this year. I'm just saying for a team to make the playoff from the Pac-12, I really believe it's got to be UCLA. It's not impossible if they lose, but you have to have a one-loss team. And if Oregon loses to UCLA, again, obviously they're done. But if UCLA loses, they both have one loss, which I guess you could say would help, but it won't because again, Oregon's going to have to play USC or UCLA in the Pac-12 championship game, more than likely if that scenario occurs where UCLA loses, and then if UCLA and USC play, then one of those teams has to lose, and the winner of that game is gonna play the 2-loss Oregon or whatever, or the 1-loss Oregon. And it's just more like, and then that team could beat them again. It's a wacky scenario, but I'm just saying that for the Pac-12 to get a team in the championship game, more than likely it's going to have to be UCLA. It could be USC if they went out, obviously. It's possible. But it's more likely going to be UCLA because the other teams are cannibalizing themselves here, I think, what's going to end up happening. Because, again, as you guys have been talking about, you've got the SEC. You're going to get the teams in there from there. And then you've got the Big Ten, Ohio State, possibly Michigan. Every other team in the Big Ten is awful compared to those two teams. But in the Pac-12, it is tight. There's not much separation in those top 4 teams. And when there's not a lot of separation, again, the teams can cannibalize themselves, and then none of them make the playoff, which, again, I know is not the most important thing for the Pac-12. A Rose Bowl win, especially for UCLA, would suffice. But still, for the Pac-12 to really regain legitimacy in the national media, not to me, but in the national media's eyes, you want a team in the playoff, and UCLA is probably the best chance to do that.
Jeffrey, can I bring up a point here?
Mm-hmm.
What if the Pac-12 wins all the bowl games, or wins 80% of the bowl games? Do you think that would also give the Pac-12 the same respect as having the team in the playoff, or not? Or do you not think so?
Well, that is a good point. I do think the bowl wins matter. Unfortunately, I do think bowl games have been kind of disregarded a little bit more lately due to the playoff, which is the biggest reason that I didn't like the playoff when I was younger, because of the fact that, again, you have all these bowl games that I used to watch, and now you have all these opt-outs. So, again, the bowl games kind of are not as legitimate as they were before. Like I said in the chat earlier, just tonight, Tennessee-Purdue was the best bowl game of the whole entire season. It was the best bowl game. And the top bowl games, Pitt, Michigan State, was a joke because everybody you wanted to see was out, and that's the problem. So even if you got like UCLA playing, just say Michigan in the Rose Bowl, Michigan's going to have opt-outs. If UCLA beats Michigan, they're going to be like, who cares?
I will not say who cares. And if that happens, then I'm just going to say that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh just don't have a good culture. If they have people quitting to not play in the Rose Bowl, the Rose Bowl is a huge deal. I know that Ohio State had people sit out, but Ohio State is a special cause, and maybe Michigan thinks of themselves that way also. But I think anyone of the 4, I think that Oregon, USC, any team that has a chance of winning the Pac-12 is not going to be disappointed this year. If they think they deserve to go to the playoffs, then they'll be disappointed about the fact that they don't get in, if that's what's happening. But in terms of end of season, if what you did was you won the Rose Bowl, there's not anyone that I think that's rational in those 4 fan bases that would be disappointed in their season.
There's a lot.
I agree with that. I agree with you there on the Pac-12. It's not the Pac-12 teams will be satisfied. I'm just talking about from the national media's perspective, because they're going to always underblow or undersell the Pac-12 until they finally prove it completely that they're that bad. Again, you have to do something big, and again, to them, that's probably not going to be enough. It will be for you and for all the Pac-12 fans and the UCLA fans, but it won't be in the national media's eyes.
Is it too flippant to say screw the national media and that I don't care?
I don't care either. I'm just saying,
okay.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is. I don't like the national media. That's why I'm on here.
That's why there's a lot of football left to be played. I think I brought that point earlier after the 3rd week. A lot of people thought UCLA was the 7th best team because they didn't really know about UCLA because of the 3 out-of-conference games. And now UCLA, I have as number 1 a month later. So there's still 6-7 weeks of football left to be played. There's a lot of crucial injuries that are happening and that have happened, and that changes the dynamic of the team. I mean, look if you had Quinn Ewers, they possibly could be undefeated. Look what happened to Devin Leary. Now what's going to happen to NC State? What's going to happen to them for the rest of the year? Jalen Daniels over at Kansas went down, and unfortunately, they've lost 2 games now. So there's a lot of football left to be played. And here's the deal. With the national media, I don't care. That's why I don't want USC to be in the beauty contest. We don't deserve to be in it. And because I know what is going to be said. I've lived it. These guys have lived it. We've seen it before. We know, and they haven't changed. They have their predisposed teams, and you look at those predisposed teams that have, basically hung out at the top of the rankings because that's what the preseason ranking was. That's what they were. But look at their strength of schedule. I mean, who is Ohio State beating? Really? Have they been tested? So, but they're there because they started there in the preseason.
I think the perspective here is again, we just have to look at, did anyone pick Oregon and USC and Oregon State and UC? Did anyone pick UCLA to be the top 10 7 weeks into the season? You know what I mean? We have to sit back and do a perspective. I know the national media has made this all about, well, it's playoffs or bust. Playoffs, your team's crap, right? And that's just not the case. All of us fans of college football know that it's great to be a media darling and get into and have a great season and be one of the Power 4 or whatever. But it doesn't define your team if you don't make the playoffs. And I really wish there was more pushback on that, because it's totally just, we talk about, disrupting the fabric of college football with all these other things. Has there been any more damage than the ESPN machine saying that if you're not in the playoffs, your team is crap? I don't think so. It destroyed the bowl system. It's destroyed a lot of stuff. And quite frankly, let's face it, they've destroyed, between Fox and ESPN, they've destroyed multiple great conferences probably forever.
Let me paint a scenario for you. And Greg Sankey will be preaching this, and the national media will be taking it with a spoon. Okay? Imagine Georgia beating Tennessee. Tennessee wins the rest of their games. They're 11-1. They can't go to the SEC championship because Georgia beat them. All right? Georgia is the representative in the SEC championship game from the East. Alabama from the West. All right? And Alabama beats Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get 3 SEC teams in there. Nobody's going to like it, but I'm telling you, that is what's going to happen.
Rick, if that actually happens, then we should all just, to use a turn of phrase here, we should all secede from the SEC and just have and they can have an SEC invitational, and we'll just all play our own game.
The SEC and their PR machine, they're dishing that to ESPN, and it's filtering out, and the drum will be louder and louder as we get close to the final release of the college football playoffs. That's all I'm telling you. I mean,
it will.
Crazy, but there is a scenario. Mark this date. Okay, go ahead and bookmark it right here.
Well, no, you're not the first person that said that.
But no, I mean it's real. I mean, it's totally real.
All right, guys, it's going to be interesting. We've got a lot of games. This week is going to set a lot of that. I think we're going to have a much clearer picture on the pack after this UCLA-Oregon game. It's going to be really interesting. All right, Jeffrey, anything else?
Not much. Again, I was just, like talking about with the national media. I don't care about it either. Again, just completely point that out. And I agree with you guys 100% that it doesn't matter. I don't like it at all. But I'm just saying that for the Pac-12 to regain in their eyes, unfortunately, that's what's going to take. And it's unfair because like Tim has said, it's destroyed so much of the sport, what they've done in the media, because my thing is, it's like I was writing in the chat. You have like the best games. You hype up the playoff all year, And most of the playoff games are not even close. They're blowouts. Like last year, Alabama, Cincinnati, Michigan, Georgia were terrible games. They were awful games. The best bowl game was Tennessee, Purdue. And again, I and you guys and Mark and all of us that watch football and we're like deep into and take deep dives into the sport and we really pay attention to it, we look for these games. Like you're talking about Washington Cal is a good game, and I agree with you. But who else, like just the average person's turn on the games and they got the advertisement for Minnesota, Penn State on ABC or Alabama, Mississippi State on ESPN. They're not going to give a hoot about Washington Cal, even though I'm interested in that game just as much as those other games. That's the problem to me with so many people is they allow ESPN to dictate what is a good game. And they're not good games most of the time. Oregon, Georgia was hyped up. Terrible. Obviously, Oregon now would play better, but again, they pick games to hype up. And obviously, a lot of them have to do with the SEC. But to me and to all you guys, a lot of under-the-radar games to me are more important because those are the games that are actually good. And it's not a lot of times the games between these, like Iowa, Ohio State, more than likely is not going to be a good game. It could be. I could be completely wrong. Iowa could defend Ohio State, and it could be a close game. But it's more than likely not going to be a great game. Oregon, UCLA is a fantastic game, but you know they're hyping up Iowa, Ohio State more because it's the big noon kickoff game. Again, I just don't like that. That's my problem with media is they skew what's important, and it's not.
Jeffrey, I agree with you, and I agree with you in general. And I think it's important, or maybe not important, but I think that if you're only watching top 25 games all of the time, and I know that's what we talk about a lot as well, then I think that you miss a lot of the what makes college football great. Because if you're not paying attention to games outside the top 25 or outside of your own team or outside of your own conference, you miss like some truly like good football from teams like Oregon State. And, and there's teams like that throughout the country that that a lot of people don't appreciate or don't get to see as much. And there's a lot of good football and there's a lot of good fan bases of teams that aren't, the Georgias and Alabamas of the world. And that's part of what makes college football so awesome, especially when one of those teams that no one thinks about all of a sudden beats one of those teams or someone else and surprises. That's like a lot of the glory of the sport. And, as Tim's talking about how ESPN or the playoff machine or whatever, kind of ruined the glory of football. There's and it goes back to what I'm saying earlier about UCLA, and I'll wrap this up, is like, I'm just enjoying the season. There's so much focus on the playoff and so much focus on everything else that like people get so wrapped up in who the top four are and who's going to the playoff that they miss out on just enjoying a ton of great games. And that's a lot more of what college football is about to me.
Yeah, and it's not like these teams don't have aspirations for that playoff. It's just this hype machine that's just saying it's playoff or bust. It just gets redundant and old. Really quickly in the chat, you guys, we are here for some friendly ribbing. I give Chris trouble. Chris gives it right back to me as a Bruin fan. But one thing we're not going to have in our chat is a bunch of unsubstantiated rumors about universities. So get your stuff together in the chat, or please, find a different place to go.
All right. Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much for calling in. We're glad to have you as always, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you. Sounds great.
And hold on, before you go though, everybody, if you're not subscribed to Jeffrey's channel at Only Talk Sports, he does a great job. He does really some of the better game previews you'll find out there. Better than stuff you see in the national media. So, Jeffrey, we all really enjoyed that stuff, and we appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to come on here and talk about more of the games, and I end up talking about the daggum national media, and I don't even like them. So, again, my bad there, but I had fun, and I can't wait to call in next week.
All right.
Thanks,
we'll talk
Jeffrey.
to you soon. All right. See you later, Jeffrey. All right, guys. Next up, we've got a call from our favorite guru of Kentucky, Darrell MVP. Darrell, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tony. I thought you were going to say from your favorite SEC homer.
You are our favorite of the SEC homers.
LBC Trojan, I'm proud of you, man. today was a big step forward in the progression of the SEC being the best conference. Even just saying 3 SEC teams can make the college football playoff, man, I got to give you a round of applause, man. Congratulations.
I know the SEC's the king. I know it.
You know it, but you haven't internalized it. There's a video on ESPN College Football called CFP Scenario. Roads for Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, and Ole Miss to all make the playoff.
Oh, wow.
Four SEC teams in the playoff.
Let's just settle down.
Do we want to talk about Ole Miss real quick or not? I know it's a Pac-12 show, but that Ole Miss team is a fraud.
Ole Miss, you guys, Ole Miss is such a fraud. It's not even worth the oxygen. I like Lane Kiffin, and I love Jackson Dart, but no, we don't need to waste time on that.
So, are we saying this is happening with an undefeated Ohio State or Michigan? I mean, that's all this. I know scenarios. We can work out all kinds of scenarios, things that happen, but yeah, 2. You guys are probably getting 2.
No, I'm thinking 3. I really think the SEC is going to get 3 this year. I really
that would be a travesty.
No, it would be the right thing because the SEC, in my opinion, has 3 of the 4 best teams. I want to see the best teams. I don't want to see Oregon lose 49-3 to Georgia. I don't want to see that. I want to see the best teams. And Tennessee, Bama, Georgia, in my opinion, are so close. And Ohio State, obviously, in there. Not sold on Clemson at all.
Well, we'll see. Darrell, what do you think about the Pac-12 games this week?
I'll ask Darrell a question.
I want to ask Darrell one question real quick.
All right, you guys get one question, then we're moving on to the Pac-12.
Mine's much shorter. Darrell, is Missouri like the 8th best team in the country?
Not even close.
Okay, how did they play Georgia so close?
Well, I believe they are – so Georgia knows how good they are, so they just kind of sleepwalk that game. Now, it's unexcusable for their performance, but teams have bad games. They probably looked at the schedule, saw, we're playing Missouri. You know, we can give it our C or D effort, and you got to give Missouri all the credit. So,
Darrell, I agree with you that there's a very good chance that 3 SEC teams will make the college football playoff. I'm not going to go to 4, but I give a very good chance of 3. And one of the reasons, I think you'll agree with me, is the strength of schedule that those teams play. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything you said.
Yes. Now, Tennessee has ascended. I can't remember exactly what they were ranked preseason. Was it in the teens or 20s?
Let me look that up real quick.
Okay. Well, you're looking that up because I can't remember. But, hey, Tennessee, I have them number 1 in our 5P rankings that were released.
You do?
Right. I have them number 1 because Tennessee has the best wins. They won at Pitt. They beat obviously Alabama. And who else did they beat? They had another great win. But they have 3 quality wins.
They slaughtered good old BK and LSU.
LSU. There you go. That was the other one. In the Bayou. Yeah, down in Baton Rouge. So I have Tennessee number 1. You know, in Alabama, they went down to Austin and they beat Texas. That's a quality win. And obviously Georgia's Georgia, okay? 49-3 over the Ducks. So I'm looking at Ohio State, you know, and Mark has his show, Rankings That Make Sense, right? Why is Ohio State where they're at? Because of what happened last year. But who have they really beat this year? Nobody. They're going to have 1 game all year. And I'm being honest. And Darrell, maybe you'll agree with me, but that's the Michigan game. Then they're going to go play in the championship game against whoever is left standing in the West. We don't know who that is. But how could you honestly put Ohio State in there if you're going to use the criteria that the SEC has a great conference and these guys play great games? And then you have like Ohio State. It's like they're invited to the party. How did they get in here? That's what I'm saying. I don't think Ohio.
I don't think 4 SEC teams are going to make the playoffs. Let me state that first and foremost. I just thought it was funny, and I knew I would get some sort of reaction from that because I know everybody loves more SEC teams in the playoffs. That's the one thing people love the most. I I think Ohio State's a solid team. I think they're a legitimate team, and I don't think anybody could have predicted Notre Dame riding the struggle bus against Marshall and Stanford like they did. So I got to give them a little credit.
Oh, boo-hoo.
And they've done what they're supposed to do week in and week out against horrible teams. So I think they should be in there.
Well, we'll let it play out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
LBC, you said you wanted two underdog scenarios teams that could win this week. I'm going with UNLV over Notre Dame. And
that's a big pick.
Over Washington.
Surreal. Can we put some money on that one?
No.
Let's put your money where your mouth is. Let's go. I'm ready to bet you. Let's do it.
LBC Trojan just said for possible upsets. Okay.
Okay, I like this. This is getting fun.
It seems like you're just Tony.
Let me state my case. Okay?
It's to this point you're just trolling us. So let's get to something
No.
serious.
Can I state my case?
yes.
All right. We want to hear your case for UNLV over Notre Dame.
Marcus Freeman, in my opinion, has a Scott Frost ability of having his team only play in big games and not show up for games that they should easily win. This is a game, in my opinion, they should easily win. I think Notre Dame's going to overlook UNLV, and they're going to look ahead to at Syracuse and Clemson in the next 2 weeks. I don't think the coaching staff is going to be 100% focused in on this game, and UNLV is a capable team. They both have a common opponent, and UNLV lost only by 6 on the road, and Notre Dame only won by 3 at home. So it wasn't like it was a complete blowout one way or another for their only common opponent.
Real's making a good point.
I mean, I brought this up when we talked about the game originally, and I'm telling you that Notre Dame's going to win by like 3 touchdowns.
I mean, if the offense doesn't change, I'll give in and say UNLV has a chance, but I think some offensive changes got to be made. And I think if they are, then we'll win big. But if they aren't, who knows?
All right, which was the other upset, Real?
Cal over Washington.
That's that I could see.
I'm with you on that one, Drill.
Yeah, I still think Washington is a little overrated. I'm not sure how they're going to respond from their loss against Arizona State. I would like to believe Cal is going to understand the total embarrassing loss to Colorado, and I think they're going to play with their 100% game to show people that's not the team they are.
All right.
It's going to be interesting.
It was hard to find 2 games this week that I thought could be possible upsets. It was really hard because of a few of the great teams are on buys this week. So, Will, I'm sorry, man. Your team was kind of had to move up the hot seat because of that factor. If Utah was playing this week or UCLA, Oregon was playing other weaker teams, I might throw them in there, but just had to be Will.
You couldn't throw in Arizona State beating Stanford?
Are we calling that that's like the 11th best Pac-12 team beating the 13th best Pac-12 team. I mean, are we calling that a massive upset?
There's that SEC math. No, I appreciate that.
No, he's got a point. Because Colorado is the 125th best Pac-12 team.
Right. No, it's true. And it's only a 2.5 point spread. I don't know. I like anything within a field goal or even like within like.
I'll give you one SEC upset for the rest of the season, though. I'm doing Vandy beating Florida. Come on, Clark Lee.
All right. Darrell, real quick before you go, give me your UCLA Oregon prediction.
Oregon by 14.
Ooh.
Oh.
I think the national media and most people are so skewed by the Georgia game. I don't think it's fully in effect. I think that Oregon-Georgia game was Oregon playing about their worst and Georgia playing about their best. So I think UCLA is going to play their A-plus game, and I think Oregon's going to play their A-plus game, and I think it'll be all Oregon. Because Oregon's got their backs against a wall. Because I think Oregon believes they are a legitimate playoff contender. And I think if Oregon goes 12-1, they should be in the playoffs.
Darrell, you've got a new fan. You got a new fan.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, I did tell you, though, Notre Dame's going to beat Clemson. That's my upset pick for that
I hope
game.
you're right. I hope you're
So
right with
I
that
have
one.
them losing to UNLV, Stanford, and Marshall, but beating Clemson.
Oh,
And
And
Dario, one more thing. You said you had 2 SEC teams make it. Which 2 do you pick to make
I
it?
said 3.
Oh, you still wait? You legitimately think 3 are making it? You're not
Yes.
trolling.
Yeah.
I agree with him.
Man,
we'll see.
All
We'll
we
see,
need-
guys. It's
all
gonna be
this
fun.
Scenario needs is if Georgia beats Tennessee, that's all the main domino to fall now, and I think that's pretty likely.
Yep.
I hope.
Yes.
I just and Clemson. I know if they go undefeated, they're probably going to get in. But I'm just so not sold on Clemson that I think they would lose by 24 plus to any team in the playoff. They didn't look good against Wake Forest. They didn't look good against Florida State. And it's just
Real. I think you're absolutely right on that. I agree with you 100%.
right.
on the
Like if
Clemson.
Clemson played Oregon, I would go with Oregon.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually.
I see that Clemson defense. I disagree with you. Sorry.
That's
All
fine,
right.
but Clemson's offense has looked a little bit better. I think I think Clemson's defense has looked a little worse this year, though. I mean,
I agree
it's
with
not
you,
like
Mike.
they're only giving up 14 points a game or something like that. They gave up 28 to Florida State, 48 something to Wake Forest. I mean, that's not Georgia, what we're expecting from the elite of the elite that Clemson is expected to be.
It's gonna be a fun one.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, it will
Jareel,
be.
thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck to everybody's team. It's going to be weird for you 3 USC guys. What are you going to talk about this week in your post game show since you got it by?
Well, so we don't have a regular post game show. What we're doing is, and anybody that can make it tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, we've got a chat with the USC Trojan, the drum major, who's the actual Trojan who stabs the sword into the field, is going to talk to us about his role and what it's like at all the different other stadiums and what it's like to be the face of the team.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to the USC Notre Dame game at the beginning of the year and just seeing that tradition and that game relive to its glory. But hopefully next year that game will live up to its glory. So
fingers crossed. It'll be a good one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thank you. As always, thank you. You're always welcome. We're glad to have you.
No problem. Thank you all for having me on. It's great to see all of you, and good luck to all your teams for the rest of the year.
You too. Good luck to Kentucky.
See you, Daryl.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man.
Well, I'm gonna get really controversial. We can put the SEC to sleep right now. I wanted to ask him, but Alabama's lucky. There's a world we live in that Alabama could have 3 losses right now, especially if Ewers would have been healthy. And they got to play Ole Miss. Let's pump our brakes on having 3 SEC teams in the.
Yeah,
in the,
I think they'll be lucky to see 2. We'll see. There's a lot of football to be played, but moving back to the Pacific Northwest from the deep Southeast, we've got a friend of the show, Connor Johnson, Beeve extraordinaire. Connor, welcome to the show.
Well, it's been a wild ride, fellas. I think I need to submit my resignation for the Beeve extraordinaire, the resident Beaver, because Jay was coming in hot.
Jay was good. He's solid.
Jay was great. Jay, we gotta have you and Jay both together next week sometime. That'd be fun.
Yeah, well, he's from, I think he said Camas, where Coleto's from. And although I live in Corvallis and I went to Oregon State, I'm not from here, so he takes precedence. I don't even know who that backup quarterback he mentioned was. I didn't realize I was calling into the SEC show with the real MVP.
Hey, we're always glad to have Daryl on the show. We like all our friends from all over.
I agree with Mikey. He's like so hard to like. He's like right most of the time. Like even with the 3 SEC team thing, like it's like you don't want to agree with it and you just want to push back. But like if Bama wins out, if Georgia's only loss is, or if whatever the scenario is, I could see it happening. But alas, this is the Pac-12 show. So earlier, I think it was Jeffrey said the top 4 in the Pac-12 could beat anybody, and I'm hoping that the Beavers by the end of the year will be that 5th team. I think we're close. I'm not ready to put us in that next category yet, but beating Washington State was the first step. And then getting a quarterback. This week, if Ben plays really well, like I'm saying, he has to cover the spread, like beat him by more than 24 to earn that job to start in Seattle after the bye week. But I think Chance is going to be healthy after the bye week. So if it's close at all with Colorado, or if Ben just looks shaky, I think Chance gets the job. And then even if Ben does get the job for the year, I think he's going to be on a short leash with a healthy Chance, because I think I agree with Jay. He's had a couple of those interceptions aren't his fault, and he's owned up to. I don't think he's as bad as he played. I just think he tried to do too much hero balls. So,
what do you think about Oregon State versus UW?
That's the one that's
November 4th.
I might drive up there. It's on a Friday to go to the game. I've never been to that atmosphere. I'll be obviously decked out in beef gear, but I'll be respectful to not get beer thrown on me, because I think they're pretty wild. So that's the one I'm worried about. I think y'all hit the nail on the head that we might be a more well-rounded team, but on the road, you never know. And I think Washington is probably better than Wazoo. Right now, I would still have Wazoo ahead of Washington, because Wisconsin beat Michigan State, roundabout, way to put them there. But yeah, Washington is the key game to get to the Oregon game, because the others are. Colorado this weekend. Cal is at home, so we handle that. ASU maybe a little worried because we have to go to ASU, but by then I think their team is even falling more apart. So yeah,
Right.
I'm with Chris though. 10-2 is still a real possibility, and the Pac-12 being what it is, I think earlier somebody said that what would be a better result, getting a Pac-12 team in the playoff or winning all of our bowl games. And while I think that it would be great to get a Pac-12 team in there, and I'll touch more on how I think they do in a second. Without the Pac-12 team in there, we have a very good chance of winning all of our bowl games, because the way that they're slotted, it's like Wazoo, LA Bowl, Beavers, or Washington in either the Sun Bowl or Vegas Bowl, which would be an ACC team in the Sun, an SEC team in the Vegas Bowl, but like the fourth or fifth best SEC team, depending on how many they get in. I think it shapes up to at least have a positive record in the bowl games, which we haven't won one in a couple of years. So
Yeah, that'll be a nice change.
any win, I guess, would be an improvement. But I was thinking about this while I was backstage, and because of the toughness of the schedule, the three teams that can get in are Oregon and the LA schools. And I think form will help a lot. I think the LA schools playing each other, the winner of that, or if Oregon beats Oregon State, those are tough games at the end of the year that are not going to be cakes like Georgia has Georgia Tech, or like Alabama has Auburn, like cakewalks where they can kind of sleepwalk. And then there's a couple weeks off. So like, I think playing good competition leading up into the playoffs could end up being beneficial. And while I still think the Pac-12 representation will lose, I would normally think it would be like a 2-3 score game, but I think if they're in form, I think that team can be closer at least. As for Oregon, I like what DeReal was saying. I think it's more so it was the first coach's day, and less Lanning and more so that offensive coordinator. And I know he's coached at other places and called plays, but like they had a pretty good game. You know how coaches script like the first couple of drives? Their first couple of drives were great, and then when he started to have to improvise, it kind of fell apart, and they've slowly improved. So that the Civil War, if Oregon can survive that and they can get through UCLA tomorrow, I think is probably the best chance, as Serge pointed out. They're the most talented. But
sorry, go ahead, and then I want to ask a quick question.
Yeah, or go for it. I'm rambling.
So Zach T, thank you for helping support the show. We really appreciate that throughout the Voice College Football community. It It really does help a lot. Has a question for, I want to ask all you guys. He says, right now, who do you guys think makes the Pac-12 championship game? We've got, and so I put our power rankings back up, and let's just real quick, let's go around and give our answer to Zach T.
I'll just jump in because there's too many different derivations of what could happen.
There are. Give your guess if you had to pick one right now.
I'll just say UCLA, Oregon.
I got USC and UCLA.
Tim?
Give me one more second. Let me think. Go someone else.
Will?
USC, Oregon for me.
Connor?
That's a tough one. I like the UCLA Oregon as well. The rematch.
Man, since it's a toss-up, I'm gonna go with my original prediction: USC, Utah.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Tim.
Utah's only loss is I'm going to change mine to Utah because I think the Beavs beat Oregon. So Utah, UCLA.
I'm going SC Oregon. I think it'll be interesting. Oh, well, guys, I'm sorry. Go ahead. And Zach, I like Zach's point. Zach says he wants to see a rematch of last Saturday. What about you guys in the chat real quick? Some of you guys are chiming in. Everybody who hasn't chimed in, give us yours. We got Mikey G says UCLA, Oregon. Gumby says USC, Oregon. We got a bunch of them here. We'll just keep flashing them up. I like it, guys. You all got some good picks. Jim just picked the Utes. Oh. Well, guys, this was fun. We are at our time for the evening. So let's start out, give some final thoughts heading into the Pac-12 this week. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, get me out of here. Our game, at least, we should handle Colorado. It's kind of like a big game in the sense that, like, this is the biggest spread in, like, my memory, at least 10 years. A 24-point spread. I don't know if we covered that. Just coming out and dominating will be good for a change. Dominating a team that we should dominate. So I'll leave it at that. UCLA, Oregon. I'm going to go. Oh, it's a toss-up. I want Oregon to be undefeated, or not undefeated, but in good standing when we play them. And I do think the home difference makes a difference, but I think it's close. So Oregon by like one score.
All right. Thank you. Good to have you.
Back to pack. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you next time. All right, Will, what do you think? Final thoughts for the Pac-12 this week.
This is the most excited I've been for a Pac-12 game in some time. I don't know what it is just about this matchup, or maybe for the fact that it's college game day, but I don't know. I really just hope we see a good game just to show like how good Pac-12 football can be and how great the atmospheres can be with Autzen, just for like a sort of a new crowd, because I feel like Pat McAfee being on game day for a Pac-12 game is really might bring it like a new crowd to watching Pac-12 football. So I just hope this is a really good game to show like the new game day crowd just how good it could be in the West Coast.
All right, thanks for joining, and we hope you put out that dumpster fire. We want to get you out of it.
Thanks, Tony.
See you later. By the way, I don't know if you saw, I sent you an email with the picture of you as the leprechaun.
Okay, I'll check it out.
All right, we'll see you.
Only 1 second. Will, hey, brother, respectfully, you got to see, the Pac-12 and how it's improved, because it was on full display at South Bend last week with 11th place Stanford, coming into your house. Hey, man, you set it up for me. You put it on a tee, and I just had to put it in the fairway. I'm sorry, man. 300 yards. I love you, Will.
We do. We love you, Will. All right. Thank you so much. Chris, what do you think about the game? What do you think? This is your time. This is your team. Can they seize that opportunity?
So since Will mentioned it real quick, is there anything that Pat McAfee is built better for in life than a toga party on game day in Autzen?
No,
celebrating
not a
Animal
thing.
House. Like, I don't think that there's like anything that man is like more prepared for in life than that event. But yeah, no, I don't have anything new to say that I haven't said already. It's, you know, it's one of the biggest games UCLA has had in decades, and it's exciting and it's fun, and we'll see what happens. It's like, you know, I'm soaking it in. I'm enjoying the year. You know, we'll see where hopefully we can do the things that I talked about earlier. Hopefully we can make Bo beat us. And if he does, then great. Good for them. I hope it's a hell of a game. I expect it to be a hell of a game. I expect it to be real fun. And, you know, like it's exciting to be in this position, and, you know, win or lose, it's going to be a hell of a season from here on out. And yeah, there's nothing more to say. So go Bruins.
All right, TBM. For you, I'm saying go Bruins. All right, Tim or LBC, whoever wants to go. Sorry.
Hey, I want to say great show, guys. It was awesome. Everybody that tuned in the chat and the callers, you guys are fantastic. I love it. And we're trying to get this show, improving it every week, and hopefully we're delivering. We want to add some new things, such as our power rankings, as we're now halfway through the season. It's going to be an exciting second part of the year. Also, you know, what us Trojans, or at least what I'm going to be doing this weekend, is I'll be chilling, watching a lot of good college football, enjoying some good IPAs. And again, hit me up on my Twitter. The two biggest Pac-12 teams that won, I'll go ahead and choose a beer. Go ahead and suggest that for those winning teams, and they can go ahead and celebrate a great victory, hard-fought victory this week in the Pac-12, because the wins that are coming now in the Pac-12 are very challenging. A lot of good teams, as we discussed, 1 through 7. So enjoy this college football weekend. Be good, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks a lot.
All right, Tim.
Yeah,
what do you think going into the bye week?
Yeah, we're a little bit past halfway, and I just want to thank everyone that did call in. I'm really hoping that we get more people involved, especially all you Pac-12 fans. I appreciate all of our calls, but our goal here was to get all of you guys a voice. So I think it's going to shake out pretty great down the stretch here for the Pac-12. Get in here. You know, you have an opportunity. This is your voice. There's a lot of places you could hear the other conferences, but I don't see a lot of Pac-12 call-in shows. So we're hoping as we go down the home stretch here that we got a lot of fans venting, a lot of fans celebrating with us throughout the year. And again, we always appreciate your time and coming. We know that time is one precious thing we have in life. We appreciate all of you sharing that time with us.
All right. Well, I want to join Tim in thanking you guys. But first, I want to thank Tim and LBC, who are just amazing, amazing guys who share their time with all of us. And guys, you guys are amazing. And thank you for all your help to me personally and to all of our community here. I also want to give a quick thanks to Mark Rogers, because Mark has really an incredible, incredible community here on YouTube that is just a phenomenal place for fans of all different teams to come together. And we love seeing you guys in the chat. We love having our friends from the SEC, the Big Ten, and everybody else come and talk about the Pac-12 for the night. You know, we're really trying to see an amazing difference and make sure that folks get exposed to teams and the folks get exposed to people. So tomorrow night, we're going to have an amazing, amazing opportunity at 10 p.m. Pacific, Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, with the actual USC Trojan. He's joining our VIP interview show, along with previously Chancellor Chilton from Wazoo and the Stanford Tree. And we've got some other great folks coming up. And LBC set that up, guys. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fun, and I hope you'll join us. But finally, the most important thank you goes to you guys. Everybody who's watching this, everybody who's in the chat, especially the folks who help support the show and support Mark's channel. It really means a lot to the entire community, but it means a lot to me personally, and I want to thank you all. So, guys, have a great weekend. Good luck to the Ducks. I'm going to say go Bruins on behalf of all my UCLA friends. It's going to be a heck of a game and a heck of a week. So, as always, fight on, and we'll see you guys next week.